What's going on? 6 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. Vikings took down the Bears 30-12. Caleb Williams struggling to get much going, finishing 18 of 31 for 191 yards and a touchdown, while the Vikings practically did whatever they wanted. Vikings moved to 12-2 and are the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. Second leg of your doubleheader saw the Falcons stop the Raiders on the road 15-9. Kirk Cousins didn't have a great game, but he didn't really have to because Bijan Robinson took over in the run game. 22 carries for 125 yards. Falcons win the shinier of two turds trophies and moves to 7-7. Head coach Raheem Morris after the game on Kirk Cousins says, quote, "He's got to play better. We have to find a way to get him to play better, and we have to get better play out of the quarterback position." Some waiver and NFL free agent news as the Chiefs have released former first-round running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He will be subjected to waivers. A man who's already been through that process, former Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. He has cleared waivers. He's a free agent, free to sign wherever he would like to go. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
A very warm welcome to your Tuesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, and around the world. The program is off and running. RKW, Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh, myself, Will Bowling, Kayla Anderson, still on a boat. She is out on vacation this week. Tennessee and Ohio State, the game is getting even closer. Ticket prices are dropping even more. We know there will be orange in the building. Mm-hmm. Well, how much can the people wearing orange on the field perhaps get a W? What are their odds? What are the chances? How do they do it? We'll talk more about Tennessee and Ohio State this morning. Brian Callahan of the Titans, they met with the media yesterday. They're non-committal on who their quarterback is. What does that mean? We'll dive into that. Plus, Austin Price at 8:20, Stephen Godfrey at 9, and you at 615-737-1045. Tuesday, December the 17th. Good morning. How are we doing?
Hey, we good, man. Good morning. How are you, Will?
Well, after all of that last night, we watched 2 football games, and I can honestly say out of all the football games I've watched, those were definitely 2 of them.
I started thinking, not thinking last night, but I was watching the game and just thinking about Chicago playing Minnesota. Minnesota was doing their thing. But in general, I was saying to myself, I think the NFL has a bad football problem that needs to be fixed like fast. Like when you watch a professional game, you shouldn't be watching it like respectfully as a D2 game. Last night, I felt like the Chicago Bears football team was like D2 football. Like,
that's a great way to put it.
It is, man, because the expectations of like the young stars coming into the league, like a Caleb Williams or Roman Dunze or anybody else for that matter, like they should be, I feel like, making more plays. And I know it's a harder. I know this to be true. It's much harder to be a pro and be successful and just be one of those guys in general and to have a team that's that good too. But I feel like with as young as the league is at the players like age, medium, and also with as new turnover and change and new coaches that come in, like the quality of the game has to be kept. Like the era of Brady, Mannings, the Roethlisbergers, the Brees, the Rivers, and just the veteran guys that we've known, I feel like it's been so much turnover as of late, and just the never changing like of head coaches and quarterbacks that like somebody somewhere has got to have a better cluster of stability and quality football than what we have right now.
Yeah, well, why do you think it is? Mr. NFLPA and 11-year NFL veteran.
We've been speaking about it for a long time. The higher the salary, the quicker they get you out sometimes too. Like, the league is as young as it's ever been at this point. Like, we're getting young quarterbacks coming to this league that have to be veterans and actually do a lot. And there's one area where when we talk about Will Levis and just the world of quarterbacking in general, like, I was looking at the Alex Smith pathway that he made through the NFL. Like, he was trash early. His teams were trash also in San Francisco. But you were also forced to deal with them because everybody believed in the development of the quarterback. And I think that even goes to the offensive line. Like, I'm looking at the Bears rookie left tackle last night. He almost got Caleb Williams killed earlier in the game, man, because they're so young. The teaching of the games at like the college level, pass protections, and just understanding of football has somewhat gone down, somewhat. And there are some guys that come out that are studs, and some teams that got great cultures and stuff like that. But I do know the NFL is very young right now, and this quick turnover society we have in everything has somewhat hit the NFL. And I hate that in a sense because it sucks.
Does that apply to Will Levis?
Does it apply to Will Levis? Again,
I
acknowledge it. I said that also. No, you don't. You can't, because it's not allowed anymore. You're not allowed to let talent develop anymore. You're just not. The Alex Smiths of the world, the Peyton Mannings when they have bad years, like all of those things, like it's keep them young, keep them dumb, I feel like.
So you were, with all the money that those guys were making day one, you were forced to work it out.
You have to work it out.
And now, as quickly as you can get somebody new in there for cheap,
yes,
you're almost forced to not work it out.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing: I only thought it was on the college level at first, to where I still say to this day, and it's for good reasons though too, because it helped the SEC. But the moment that Urban and Nick Saban came in and won national championships that quick, within I think they were some of the first ones that really flip it within 3 years. Mm-hmm. Everything in the SEC changed. You remember and I specifically remember this era because I was in it when Urban Meyer came in. One, I didn't know anything about him like that. I wasn't tracking him at Utah.
Dude from Utah, right?
Yeah, dude from Utah. But when he came in and started winning as quickly, I felt like I didn't feel the pressure for Coach Fulmer, but I knew we had to figure out something quick. And then Saban came in and did the exact same thing. And then Les Miles did it at LSU also. And I thought that was just a college thing. But now think about what we're speaking about with the Titans. There's conversation that Coach Callahan should be let go after year one. There's just no time in general these days. And I like to say it's because of the money that's attached to it, but the need to win for each franchise, there's just no patience anymore for. And last night it made me look at the Chicago Bears that have an insane amount of young talent. Yeah, they do. And say to yourself, they got to get this figured out because the NFL is better if Caleb Williams looks great.
And he doesn't look great right now.
No, he does not.
He has got 8 straight starts without throwing an interception. The Bears have lost all 8.
Yeah.
He has not thrown a pick in 8 straight games. So according to Opta, no other quarterback in NFL history has had a streak of more than 5 consecutive starts where he didn't throw a pick but still lost. And that is since 1950.
Well, I'll say this, too. His overall play just looks ugly, too.
I saw somebody post a video of him, improvising in the pocket and, running right and then running out back left and said, buddy, you're not playing Utah State anymore.
No, but he has to play. He got to play. And then here's the thing, too. It was set up for him to be in air quotation marks to be successful day one. And he could be 2 and done also. 3 years and potentially done.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
At least he'll have a new head coach next year who can, maybe develop him a little bit. Because I just don't, in hindsight, Eberflus was not the guy to take him and that roster to their potential this year.
Right. No doubt about it. And there it is again, though, Will. All right, this doesn't work, so let's move on. I get it, right, with the idea that, look, you got to produce early, and look, we are into winning. Coach T always told us that our business is winning. That's how you stay afloat. That's how you keep your job in today's NFL. It's just that it's so much losing with young talent that it really just sucks the life out of the potential superstars that you have in front of you.
Yeah, I think Eberflus though had more time, right? He's in a different boat than Caleb is. Eberflus in 3 seasons was 14-32.
14, yeah, that's bad.
He's not going to get the job done.
That's bad. But he also had a bunch of issues with their front office figuring out players, the hiring, firing. There's a lot that Chicago's gone through. But they're set up right now. They got to strike right on this next head coach, though. They have to. for stability of the quarterback position because your number ones in the league has to last. Like, one of the biggest black eyes that's going on right now is the fact that Zach Taylor, one of the biggest markers in the NFL, still isn't there. And then the guy that they brought in and replaced Zach Taylor, Aaron Rodgers, is trash too. So,
Zach Taylor?
Zach Wilson.
Oh,
Wilson,
yeah, right.
Wilson, yeah. Zach Wilson. Wow, see how quickly I forgot about him?
Look at you calling Cincinnati a big market. Complimenting Cincinnati.
No, absolutely not. Well, they can do what they want to in Nashville. Now they won here. But that's my TED Talk for the morning, man. I had that thought. It's just like looking at that bad left tackle last night and how he almost got Caleb Williams killed to just the play of Caleb Williams in general. Like, his box score was decent, but his overall understanding and play was cheeks.
There's still a lot to work with there.
It is.
No doubt about it.
No, it is.
I think it is a lesson, though, that even the most physically gifted quarterbacks have to land in a good situation.
The system matters. It does. And I was listening to all our teammates yesterday on the radio on the station yesterday, and most of them were saying that too. It's like, the conversation we've been having about Levis, like, don't be afraid to let go. Like, it's okay if you have to let go and watch him be, good somewhere else.
Yeah, it's okay if he succeeds elsewhere. Right, 100%.
That's the game. It just really is the game. So that was my thoughts last night watching that because, even the Atlanta game wasn't that great. And they got an OG on their team. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. It is what it is in the NFL. But this is what we speak about whenever guys, the expectation to perform early is there because there's not a whole lot of veterans on team. Like, those clusters are usually on, like, 12 teams potentially.
Sure. 615-737-1045 is our number. Tons of college football discussion coming up this morning. Austin Price will be here at his normal time at 8:20, not only previewing Tennessee, Ohio State, but also giving us the latest out of the transfer portal because college football is the only sport in the world that has free agency during its postseason. So we'll cover both of those with Austin coming up at 8:20 this morning. Stephen Godfrey joins us at 9 o'clock today. We're going to talk about all the matchups in the college football playoff, specifically Tennessee and Ohio State with our resident college football expert that will be in studio for the whole 9 a.m. hour. You won't want to miss it. If you need to, check out Ramon Kayla Will on the podcast feed wherever you download podcasts. But coming up next, Brian Callahan had some interesting comments yesterday. When asked about asked about Will Levis's short-term and long-term future as the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. And we'll react to that next. Hey, it's Will Bowling. You deserve all the comforts of home, including endless hot water at your fingertips. There is nothing worse than when that water goes from warm to ice cold at the snap of a finger. Well, I'm here to tell you, tankless water heaters powered by new recirculation systems save energy, money, time, and space. Lee Company has a limited time offer of $750 off a tankless water heater when you purchase a new recirculation system. And to make the heater even sweeter, qualified buyers receive 18 months of 0% financing. Take advantage of this offer today and call my friends at Lee Company at 615-567-1000 or go to leecompany.com/promotions to get $750 off a tankless water heater. That's 615-567-1000. Do what I do and trust the folks who have been trusted in the Middle Tennessee community for 80 years. Open 24/7, 365. That's Lee Company at 615-567-1000. Online at leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Kicking off your Tuesday morning, RKW, Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh makes the show happen. No Kayla this morning. She is out on her cruise the rest of the week. 615-737-1045 is our number. Ramon, why hasn't Brian Callahan benched Will Levis yet?
Well, I haven't, because I feel like they got to talk about it as a staff, probably talk to some of the veteran leadership on the team, too. Those are the types of things that happen. And you got a division game for the first time. Kind of want to leave them in a limbo about what you're going to do also. I honestly don't think he's caring too much about his feelings. It's just the process of communicating with everybody as far as, all right, what can you come back from this? That's the conversation, because he's still young enough, as we were talking about a second ago. It's just, what does this look like for everybody else inside of the building, and how do you handle them?
Because I feel like he's already been pretty much benched.
I do too.
I think the decision has been made. I don't understand why they won't just say it. Anytime a coach is asked about if his young quarterback is still the quarterback and he doesn't say yes, I feel like the decision is final.
Yeah, no. It's cooked at that point publicly.
It's got to be a wrap.
Yeah, at that point, it's a wrap, man. The way I view it, if you bench, and that's the conversation we were having. I feel like earlier this year when we were speaking about the injury situation that happened here, and we spoke about, it's like, look, players don't lose their jobs because of injuries. It's just like one of those unspoken things, man, unspoken rules as it pertains to sports. Like, if I go down and my backup does well, when I come back, that's still my spot. That's just how it goes more times than not. So what happened when Will Levis got healthy? It was his spot again. Mason backs out. Will, here's the keys to the car again. What you don't see, though, from starters is this. Most starters get an opportunity to fight through it. I was listening to Troy Aikman last night describe his rookie year. He was like, man, I lost 11 straight games. Like, I was not playing right. Like, I was 0-11. Like, he's giving that conversation. Starters don't get benched. You become backups at that point, in my opinion. You can't publicly pull a guy to save a guy and it still be his job, because name me one franchise quarterback, young or old, that's got benched mid-season other than what Bryce Young's had going on.
They got benched mid-season and came back?
Anthony Richardson's the other one this year.
Differences. First-rounders. First-rounders.
Sure.
And you knew that, all right, they just had to win games, right? But this one, in a sense, feels like a demotion and you lost your starting spot to me.
The only other one recently is Zach Wilson.
And how did that turn out eventually?
Exactly.
To your point about why you just won't say it.
No, you're 100% right.
Like, we can go back to you, but like, there was a snow game that I was inactive for, and my backup had it was in Buffalo, the big old snow game, and my backup had a good game, right? I think they broke a rushing record and everything for the franchise, and I was thinking to myself, Lord, man, what's gonna happen? I think I was like in year 8 or something. I don't know what year it was, 7, 8, or 9, I don't know, but it was a young guy that played well in a game that the team did well. Okay. Well, guess what? Next week, I'm right back in. That's the way it rolls, right? You don't get benched as a starter due to injuries and stuff like that. And that's where, to me, like, knowing the business and how the game goes, you can't you can't push him back out there no more and believe me, or have me believe that he's the guy moving forward. It just don't work like that, Will. We know as teammates, when it's bad at anywhere else.
Brian Callahan was asked about the interceptions specifically on Sunday. And the story of exactly how they happened, were they Will's fault, were they someone else's fault, and was then asked about how you move forward at the quarterback position. Here's the Titans head coach.
Yeah, I mean, every interception has its own story. There's always things that you can reason or explain. At the end of the day, four total turnovers by him and 6 total is not going to allow you to win the game. And, there's the blame can be placed in different spots, but ultimately as the quarterback, he's responsible for the football and where he puts it. And there's probably, one really poor one and then one that, ball gets tipped in the air. Sometimes those things happen. So, blame-wise, there's enough to go around, and he certainly shares it.
We'll go through your thought process in determining maybe where to go from here at the quarterback position, and what kind of time frame do you think you'll
Yeah, I think, I'm going to use the next 2 days to go through that process and make sure that, the decision we make is the best one for our football team, and not really much to add to it at this point, and that's something we can visit with later in the week. So take the time here that I have to go through it all and make sure, we're doing the right thing.
So, of course, we talked about yesterday. I mean, Will Levis is the first player this season with multiple halves of no touchdowns and 3+ turnovers. He did it at week 1 against Chicago. Then he did it Sunday against Cincinnati. Ramon, the point you made when we first asked the question of why hasn't he done it yet, certainly seems to be the right one, right? Wants to talk to the staff, wants to figure out, and is not just going to make a unilateral decision. He wants collaboration.
He wants collaboration. I know, right? I don't have a problem with the word either. I just like it, hear it now to hear people cringe a little bit. But not just like the turnovers from this past weekend. If I'm not mistaken, it's 12 interceptions on the season, right? And like to discuss, to Coach Brian Callahan's point, like, how do you help the team moving forward? What do you do as far as like the decision making to help you win? Because I still do think they got to be in win first mode for you to bench Will Levis, okay? Because if that wasn't the case, just keep throwing him out there. I heard Ron and Mayor yesterday. It's like, no, keep putting him out there. It's like, no, for the betterment of the team and just the morale of like it not feeling like a pointless job. Like, you got to do something to kind of turn it around. Like, this year, if this is correct, like, he's also contributed 8 fumbles with only 3 recovered by himself, too. So that's 17 turnovers on the season for him.
Yeah.
He's done more against the team than he has to help it. And that in itself is a problem. So, yeah, decisions have to be made and conversations have to be had, Will, because of this reason, too. Like, the benching of him sends a huge signal to his camp. Mm-hmm. And everybody else, too.
And Brian Callahan talked about that. I want to hear this as well, because he made the point about how there is a standard to play football in this league and for this team, and that even at the quarterback position, if you're not meeting that standard, sometimes you got to be used as an example to everyone else on the roster. And Brian specifically brings up the right tackle position as he gives this answer.
Yeah, to me, that's the long. You start talking long-term stuff. Those are all postseason questions. We're in a week-to-week battle right now. We're trying to find the best way we can to win the football game. Trying to put the best possible performance we can put together. We got 3 weeks to play, 3 divisional games. So that's really what our focus is on: is how do we best attack those 3 games and finish the season on hopefully a high note. And that's all I really worry about right now. My focus is on those things, and those questions are for after the season. We get a chance to sit down and really look at the totality of work and where we stand.
If you're debating on what would be the benefit of moving away from Will at this stage?
I think there's the guys in the football team want to feel like we're all held to the same standard, and that's the biggest issue you face is there's a locker room component to all these things and a team component to it. So you try to do best by all players involved, and the guys getting ready to go play games on Sundays want to feel like we're going to put them in position to win, and that's ultimately where that's my job as a coach and our job as a coaching staff to do that. So as far as one singular player development versus all the other stuff, those things aren't what we're focused on right now. At the end of the day, we're trying to put together the best possible performances in 3 games left in this season, and then we'll move into the offseason part of it.
There's Brian Callahan talking about Levis yesterday. You don't say that if you're going to go back to the guy.
No, you don't.
You do not open the door and say, yeah, well, the benefit of moving away from him is we've got to uphold a standard to play for this football team, and then put the same guy back out there.
Yeah, and on top of that, you hear what else he says? Like, the guys in the locker room got to feel like they got an opportunity to win. Mm-hmm. That in itself, which is why I said, like, the conversations around the teammates, maybe there's some, talk with Jeff or talk with, Calvin or somebody. I'm sure they probably got a leadership council in the building.
Yeah, right.
But to hear that be said, it's like, we got to give those dudes in the locker room an opportunity to feel like they're not wasting their time.
Brian will give you the answer if you're just locked in and listen to it.
He did. And he may go totally opposite this upcoming week. He might get vetoed or, hey, just keep putting them out there. But he's considering the locker room. He's considering the team, like, morale at this point.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much coaching and optimism you can give to guys, encouragement. Hey, guys, just keep supporting him. No, coach, I'm done supporting him. You're dealing with grown men with families, and you know what I always say, like, losing gets you fired, not just players but coaches too. If you're on a bad team, then you're probably a part of the reason we're bad. So we got to find an upgrade around you. It's just that right now you're stuck in quarterback purgatory and trying to decide on, all right, do you go to the backup veteran or do you continue to say there's potential left in Will Levis? And from what I'm hearing right now, there is potential, but we're not really willing to deal with it at this point as it pertains to him, because I got to consider everybody else.
So if you go with Will Levis and you start him for the final 3 games, regardless of performance, you could increase your chances of being able to draft a quarterback. Is that worth it, in your opinion, Ramon Foster?
Not yet, because we're seeing right now young quarterbacks around the league that aren't on strong teams that just aren't successful. And I think this team is a few picks away and a free agency from being sustainable.
They're not ready for a quarterback yet.
Not yet, no. There has to be more skill in X players, in my opinion. And that may be, like we talked about yesterday, like what if you do move JC over to the right and go get a left tackle because you're picking the high again?
Man, I just don't. Maybe I have O-lineman fatigue. I don't really think I do, because I work with you and I work with Brad on Friday nights.
Don't feel sorry for me.
I work with so many linemen. I don't think I have lineman fatigue, but I do think it's hard to imagine a scenario where the Titans are picking an offensive lineman with their first-round pick for a 3rd consecutive season.
But here's the other thing too. Like, there's pressure to make sure you see the payoff of that also.
Of course.
You like, in the sense of, like, look, you can't say you didn't draft talent. You got 11, you got a 7, and you might have a 6 or better. Like, you need to be having some, like, Washington Commanders 1970s, 1980 Hogs.
Well, it's like what Coach Mack tells us when we talk about teams like Cincinnati and Houston and Washington now who have gotten better. Like, you stink long enough, you're going to have an opportunity to be good. You almost can't help but be good eventually.
Yeah.
And now the Titans are in that scenario where for a 3rd straight season, they'd have a top 11 pick.
But you know where you are, though, as far as, like, not getting an offensive lineman, and getting a skill. Like, you're handcuffed. Because what's to make me believe that the line is going to be better next year, to where if you do go get a dynamic wide receiver,
right?
How you going to get the ball to him?
I know.
Or who's going to play quarterback if you don't get a quarterback in this draft?
Well, and I think better yet, too, there was a buzz around this franchise this offseason that made them an attractive free agent destination. How attractive are the Tennessee Titans about to be in free agency with no quarterback this offseason? I certainly don't think as attractive as they were this time last year, because there was at least belief in Will Levis. Like, hey, let's go play with this Will Levis guy. He's got a big arm. I can put up some numbers. I can get paid. I mean, if Calvin Ridley is available this time around, is he seriously considering the Tennessee Titans with no quarterback?
Probably not. I'll be honest.
I mean, he may still be considering it because the Titans were high bidders, but I don't think it is as high on the list to begin with, right?
As it once was.
Yeah.
Then this is where I've been having conversations. People ask me questions. I'm like, this is where you're going to have to pay the Titans tax.
And that's 100% right, because how many times have we talked about Jacksonville being a place where you go just to get paid?
Yo.
The Titans cannot become a franchise you go to just to get paid when you're kind of done winning. Because that's where I think this franchise is at the moment. That's where the city of Nashville is, right? Like, Nashville is a city where you, late in your career, come that you enjoy living in, you get paid, and you ride off into the sunset in. That is what Nashville as a professional sports city is between the Titans and the Preds right now.
That's tough, Will.
If I'm old and I want to raise my family in a nice place and I'm old enough to have kids and I want to settle down, but I want to get paid, just go to Nashville. Just go be a Predator or a Titan. And it's up to both of the teams in this city to change that narrative.
It is.
I mean, we've talked about that with Jacksonville for so long, right? Like Jacksonville's spending sprees that they've had for ultimately what? Cleveland spending sprees for ultimately what? Like, you could either, as a free agent, you knew this, right? From your day, right? Like, do I want to go back to Pittsburgh and win? Or do I want to go to the highest bidder and who knows? But hey, at least I'm getting paid, and everybody's got to make that decision. But you also foster, no pun intended, players that want to get paid but also don't want to go the extra mile when you consistently live that way.
The buy-in to the culture of winning, actually.
And honestly, it makes it even more impressive that this team hasn't given up more, considering the amount of 1- and 2-year contracts that they have. And I think this coaching staff deserves credit for bringing that all together and actually making these guys give a crap.
Yeah. And it has been. I'll tell you another destination team that used to be that too, or city, was Miami.
100%.
Miami was in that conversation.
Yeah,
well, at least
fair.
I'm in South Beach, or Atlanta. Like, at least I'm in Atlanta. Like, you do those types of conversation, and you don't want that, man. Which is why, to me, we're speaking lightly about the conversation of what do you do in this draft and this next free agency, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you, to your point, like, does T. Higgins want to come here? Only thing I think that would change that narrative, to be real with you, is who you decide to put at quarterback next year. Right. That's the only excitement that you have in the saying, hey, look, that's why, to me, I suggest a veteran type. Maybe not Carson Wentz. I thought about that yesterday after I said that.
Did you really? Okay.
I did. Maybe not Carson Wentz. Sometimes, I just fly off the radar sometimes. Well, I'm like one of those drones in Jersey, man. I don't know what I'll be saying sometimes. It made sense in the moment. It made sense in the moment, though, okay? I know what I'm saying. But
I was right for a little bit.
I was right for a little bit. I tried, y'all, okay?
We tried, y'all.
Yeah, but that's why, to me, like, picking the right veteran, if you're going to move on from Levis, like, it needs to make sense for a lot more reason. I think we understand, because if you do go get tackle again, or if you do go get a young wide receiver, like, the idea that those dudes need to be moving forward with, like, the franchise or what their talent says. If you're picking in the top 6, like, that's where, to me, it's got to start. So that next pick at quarterback is so crucial.
Well, and guys you draft have to buy into your culture, because they got to be here for at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a free agent and you just want to get paid, you don't really want to be here. Like, let me just find a way out. What's my exit strategy? Once things start to go bad, you draft a guy, like, it's up to them to fix it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like signing high schoolers in college football versus just patching holes with transfer portal players, right? Like, you build a culture from the high school recruits you get. You supplement that with talent from the portal. I think the same can be said. It's the closest one-to-one comparison we have for draft and free agency. What I think is going to be tricky for this team now in free agency is, if you want an offensive lineman, if you wanted somebody that you want to pay a premium, if ESPN puts out that top 100 list, right? If you want one of those top 10 free agents, what's the first question they're asking if they're on offense? Who am I blocking for?
Who am I blocking for?
Who's throwing me the ball?
Yep.
And the way the Titans answer that question is critical this offseason, not only for who the guy is next year, but for who the guy is in 2026 and beyond. Because 9 out of 10 of the options they have for next year are placeholders for one season.
Yeah.
There's not a guy out there that you're going to give 3 years to.
Let me ask you this. We're speaking about that in general, too. What position would excite you next year in the draft early? Like, if they were drafting at 5.
Anything but tackle.
Anything but tackle. What about a deep?
I mean, even
deep
tackle, right? Like, I say that. I just have a little bit of tackle fatigue
and
for this team early in the draft.
That would be 3 straight years of it.
3 straight years drafting an offensive lineman. I think they're going defense as it sits right now.
Defense.
I think they're taking the number 1 defensive player they can get. But again, like, you can make arguments for wide receiver that I think are totally valid. You can make arguments for tackle. You can make arguments for quarterback. I mean, like, that's the thing I think we don't know is, like, who's that third quarterback or that second quarterback whose narrative changes from now until April. Because so many times, right, like, we get first-round QBs that we thought were day 3 or day 2 guys in December who end up being top 5 overall picks.
It is Abdul Carter or...
That's the guy that I am totally all in.
Mikael Williams.
Micah Williams.
From Georgia.
To me, Abdul Carter is going to get a lot of Micah Parsons comparisons.
Yeah.
Because of the way he plays, but also because he's also a Penn State guy.
Right.
If you could guarantee me that he's even 80% of Micah Parsons, you're done. But again, like, you have the 6th pick. Like, that guy might not last until the 6th pick.
That's what I'm saying. But, like,
there's just so much we don't know yet.
If you're not getting the quarterback or you're not picking 1 and 2 to move back, like, you will have an opportunity to get pushed back some of those edge players or a safety, Malachi Starks. And that's where I'm at. Like, what excites you in the top 10 pick this year? And that's just a question, I think, for the fan base.
Sure.
And just for the team, as far as, like, all right, this is another piece that's going to change everything else for this team.
615-737-1045 is our number if you want to react to any of that discussion on the Titans, the draft, and free agency. Coming up, some interesting numbers last night from Monday Night Football. 2 games to watch if you were locked into the bad football again that was trotted out in front of you in primetime. The Vikings made a little bit of NFL history last night, and one guy that many of you want to be your quarterback next year had another good day at the office. We'll talk about that next.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation. Kayla, listen, it was like close to 60s, I think, yesterday, 50s or whatever it is, and now we back in the 30s. Like, that's what the Tennessee weather does for you. It's so unbalanced, man. Like, it just is. So, which is why you need to save some of that energy inside of your home. Right now, Window Nation has the end of the year sale with 50% off all window styles, plus 0 interest for 72 months at 6 years, and you can get an additional 10% off, Kayla.
Yeah, it is a good deal this time of year, Ramon, when a lot of people are wanting to save money because they just spent it probably on a lot of holiday gifts, a lot of Christmas gifts. You can walk up to your window and pretty much know if the heat is going straight out. You feel it. That is an indication you need new windows, and our friends at Window Nation are going to make sure they do it the right way. They have over 20,000 online positive reviews. So take advantage of that end of the year sale. Like Ramon said, 50% off all styles of windows, 0 interest for 72 months, and additional 10% off right now. All you got to do is dial them up at 866-90-NATION or go online to windownation.com.
When you are living right in the NFL at the quarterback position, you are really living right. It's RKW wrapping up hour number 1 this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and the Minnesota Vikings have struck gold with Sam Darnold. They get the win yesterday against the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. This from Opta Stats this morning, Ramon. Kirk Cousins had a 103.8 passer rating last season for the Vikings. Mm-hmm. Now Sam Darnold has a 104.9 passer rating. No other team in NFL history has, in one offseason, lost a qualifying quarterback with a 100-plus passer rating, but added another who duplicated the feat the next season.
Got to give it up for Kevin, huh?
That's crazy.
Talk about duplicating feet. Rex Ryan over here, happy as hell.
Eventually, he going to call in.
I hope so. Rex, man, talk to me about that AFC Championship game, man.
Yeah, you talking about the AFC Championship, the one in Pittsburgh?
Can't wait.
Dude, we ran with that so crazy. Oh, my God.
Didn't he say that after the Titans game?
I thought it was Kansas City.
Did you
I thought it could have been was it the Patriots?
It was the Patriots lost.
You're right.
The Patriots were the ones who lost to Kansas City because everybody thought because everybody thought the Patriots going to run it back or something like that.
Yeah,
and he was like,
Patriots.
You ready
they upset the Patriots 28-21.
Sure did.
I always look at that, and it looks like, because Gillette Stadium and Nissan Stadium look similar from the background with like the navy and the red seats. Anyway, that's a non-ball knowing comment from me.
But to your point, Ramona, is this the Kevin O'Connell effect, or is Sam Darnold really that good? I think that's something that has to be discussed for the offseason, too.
Watching him last night, he still has his moments. Like, he overthrew Justin Jefferson bad on the sideline.
That slot fade.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Troy Aikman, that's why I like listening sometimes to them. Like, he was saying, too, is like, yo, he's got to get some positivity. Like, I think they were called like a legal man downfield, and Troy was just like, man, that's the type of thing that takes your confidence away right there when you're completing passes and you don't get the residual of it or the success of it. And he was just like, well, this is the stuff that he needs is success after each play early. So I think still has his issues, but he looks good. He's dotting it. Justin Jefferson's just cold, though.
Yeah, I was going to say it also could partly be the Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison effect. And getting T.J. Hawkinson back has helped that offense, too. Yeah. He's healthy again.
And then who's the left tackle? Cam Robinson. He's looking like a dude, too, at left tackle now.
He's heavily penalized, but playing well.
Yeah, he is playing well. They got a squad. That defense, though. Harrison Smith, still on it.
Knoxville's finest.
Still on it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famer to you?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
I
had my answer in mind.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
just say that then.
No, I didn't know if you were fluent in him, which is why I was just like,
honestly, I'm probably not the best person to ask about Hall of Fame resume stuff. That stuff is so over my head.
Yeah, no.
I'll be honest.
I think he's in it, man, for sure. After that long, he's at least in a ring of honor immediately.
About what time do we figure out the Hall of Fame class for? I know they've announced the people, but when do we get to cut that list down?
It's usually start of the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw that they had dwindled the list down to a number of people, but I didn't know when we got to like the final 20 or whatever that list is.
Yeah, I don't keep up with that one as much. I just like the knocks on the doors and stuff, man. But it should be coming up soon because the NFL is going to production that thing on up.
Well, 2 weeks ago, we got the senior finalists already. So
and there was no Jerry Jones on that? Or no Robert
Jerry
Kraft
Jones
on
already.
that?
No Robert Kraft was the part that it was a little bit controversial. Yeah,
yeesh, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
The other game last night that many of you are probably less interested in, Falcons 15, Raiders 9. Not necessarily a great result for the Titans.
No, it was just bad ball. I didn't even really – I turned them off just to watch more of Caleb Williams because I felt like Atlanta was going to win. Bijan Robinson also acting big time. Him and Matthew McConaughey buddies out here. Did not realize
Texas, man.
Yeah, Texas, man. But Kirk was being Kirk, doing Kirk-like things, and I mean, it was just a bad football game. I turned them off. It wasn't.
The summary, that was bad football.
It was bad football.
They don't really trust him at all, and honestly, I don't blame him.
Kirk?
He last night, it was coming off a stretch, this is from NFL research, of 8 interceptions thrown in his last 4 starts. Kirk Cousins did not attempt a single pass on first down in the entire first half.
That's nuts.
First time in his career that's happened.
Why? Is he got an elbow?
Because he's
problem?
thrown 8 interceptions in the last 4 starts.
God, dog.
They don't trust him.
I mean, well, go ahead and put him in. Put the young fella in,
Penix, I think there are a lot of folks in Atlanta that are ready for that, including probably the guy who's going to join us at 9 o'clock, Falcons fan Stephen Godfrey.
And the Falcons are 2 games out from even being in the
Right.
last wild card spot, so you might as well see what you got in the guy who's potentially your quarterback next year.
Yeah, and again, here's Raheem Morris that would probably like to bench him, but his pay doesn't suggest that he should be he should be benched. He's comment from him last night. He's got to play better, obviously. You got to go back. You got to get a look at everything. It's bad play. I told you a second ago. But here's the thing. You don't want to be like this as a Titans fan and organization either, because they're handcuffed to Kirk Cousins for a little while. That's what, $50 million a year at this point, fully guaranteed?
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And on top of that, too, you look back in hindsight now after the draft, they might have been right by going ahead and getting their guy. And Michael Penix Jr., if you're not going to pick that high again.
Or devil's advocate, you should have helped your quarterback who struggled this year more with another weapon. Honestly.
I mean,
You're paying him so much.
it's true.
That's an expensive investment to just already replace.
The answer to our Hall of Fame question: we'll learn the 2025 class at NFL Honors in New Orleans in February.
There you go.
In February.
That's right.
That's the next announcement?
A little
Super Bowl.
late. That's what I thought too.
I thought they would have another, like you said.
Another cut down period.
Yeah, another cut down
So we
period.
have the 20 finalists that are available.
Okay. So we're in callbacks for the play.
Correct. Yes. Who'd you get? Who'd you get? Oh, the lead? I'm the king of Siam.
I'm in the chorus again.
Tree number 3, Ramon Foster.
I just should we even address the fact that someone in the FNM chat this morning just mentioned that Aaron Rodgers would love Nashville? I don't even know if they were serious or not.
Do it.
I don't have the mental capacity for that. I don't have the facilities for that, big man.
Let's talk about
I don't have the facilities. Let's talk about it. 615-737-1045 is our number. Brian Callahan with some interesting comments yesterday. What will the process look like for Will Levis to earn trust back, or is the decision already been made? More from the Titans head coach next.
Hey, it's Kayla with O'Charlie's, born right here in Nashville back in 1971. Have been serving up Southern hospitality since that time. They've got several locations. If you are wondering, they do have those around Middle Tennessee. You can look those up. I've got one right down the street in Bellevue, as a matter of fact. So if you are thinking about this time of the week, we have hit Thursday. Maybe it's been a tough week. You're ready to kick your shoes off and maybe have a drink or two. They've got their happy hour going on all week. That is going to be the home of the $5 Marg-O-Rita and a $5 cocktail. And you can also accompany that with a nice $5 appetizer. That happy hour is going to run every day, as a matter of fact, 3 to 6 p.m. Also, they've got one from 9 to close. So go ahead and treat yourself on this Thursday. Remember, you can always get more flavor, more choices, and more value all day, every day at O'Charlie's.
7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. We had a Monday night doubleheader last night where the Vikings took down the Bears 30-12. Caleb Williams struggling to get much going, finishing 18 of 31 for 191 yards and a touchdown, while the Vikings practically did whatever they wanted to on offense. Vikings moved to 12-2 and are the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. The second game in your doubleheader, Falcons stopped the Raiders on the road 15-9. Kirk Cousins did not have a great game, but it didn't really have to do much. Bijan Robinson took over in the run game, 22 carries for 125 yards. Falcons win the shinier of two turds trophy and move to 7-7. After the game, head coach Raheem Morris on Kirk Cousins said, quote, "He's got to play better. We have to find a way to get him to play better. We have to play better at the quarterback position." I think his coach wants him to play better. NFL free agent news. The Chiefs have released former first-round running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He announced he will be subjected to waivers, a man who's already been through that process, former Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. As he has cleared waivers, he is now a free agent and free to sign with whichever team so chooses. For all the foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour of the show, 7 a.m. in Nashville, off and running. RKW, Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh, Will Bowling hanging out with you. Kayla's got the morning and the week off. 615-737-1045 is the number. We stream the show live on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. When you hit the comment section and talk with our community, then you are in the F&M Bank chat, which this morning, Ramon Foster wants Aaron Rodgers and or Malik Willis. So that's what we've got going on today.
Yeah.
That is what we've got going on today. Brian Callahan will not answer yet on Will Levis's long-term future as the Tennessee Titans quarterback, but he does say it will take time to decide what is next. What would it take for Will to earn trust back? That was a question Brian Callahan was asked yesterday. He had this to say.
I've had confidence in Will. I've been, I think I've supported Will at every possible turn. We've poured into Will as much as we possibly can. And sometimes you have bad games and those things happen. So I don't live and die by it, and I don't think that because you get pulled from a game that means that it's over for a player. I just think that was the decision we had to make in the moment, and there's a lot of things that Will's done well. I think he's improved. There's a lot of playing of the quarterback position I think that he's done a lot better job of, and he had a really poor outing yesterday, and that was that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end for him at any point. That's just part of playing quarterback in the league. There's plenty of guys that have gotten pulled from games after poor performances, and they get better for it and come back better from it. So those are the things that I'm looking at, and ultimately for us that it's nothing in this league is final in that regard. There's no finality to that. So he's still a young player. He's still learning, and we're still coaching and trying to get the best out of him. And again, I think I've seen improvement, and he had a bad day.
Ramon, I feel like he's more talking to the rest of the team there than he is actually about his quarterback. That, hey, you can have a bad day, but that doesn't mean it's final. Well, yeah. But to be fair, this wasn't just one isolated incident for Will Levis. In fact, this was 2 straight weeks of poor performances against really bad defenses.
And that, to me, is what he's saying out loud, too. Like he said, I've supported Will Levis. We've poured into Will Levis. He's continually telling us, look, I'm doing my job. We are doing everything that we possibly can to get the best out of him. The idea of benching him and going back to him, though, that's a real hard sell in today's world of performance, though, Will. He said a lot as far as there's truth in scenarios where guys get it back due to injuries, because if Mason gets hurt, of course he's back in the game. But my thing is this: franchise quarterbacks don't get benched like that. That's the difference in positions. Like you said, he's speaking to the rest of the team. Will, yeah, okay, cool, right? But the right tackle job ain't weighed as heavy as this quarterback is. An inside linebacker job isn't weighed as heavy as the quarterback is. A DN who can't find a sack or production isn't weighed as heavy as the quarterback position is. We're talking about a unique position on the team. And the selling of this to the team is more or less just like, yeah, everybody's held accountable, but a benching at the quarterback position is so much more heavier than any other position on the team, especially this, too, when he's a young guy that's getting benched. Mm-hmm. And not just that, like, it'd be different if this was his rookie year and he just rolled right into the NFL. This isn't that case. He had an entire offseason with Coach Brian Callahan and can be in the building with him every single day and was.
And you heard Brian say, like, we've poured into him everything we possibly can.
Again, I can understand how he's trying to be very diplomatic and trying to, care about the player and care about his career, too, because I've heard people mention this time and time again, too, like he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. And I don't know if he's ever been given that himself. I think he's been around a lot of good quarterbacks and understand how good ones operate and bad ones, too. It's his job to make him better. But you just said it a second ago. We've poured into him. I've supported Will.
I think that's one of my biggest questions about Brian Callahan. Are you a really good quarterback developer, or have you just been really fortunate to work with some really good quarterbacks?
That's a part of it also.
Yeah. I don't think we have the answer to that question yet.
We don't. But here's also the other thing. Like and I've heard coaches say this. We give coaches the title of being one of the greats, one of the GOATs, and he's a phenom and et cetera, et cetera. They also have some really good players. Right?
Yeah, I mean, what is Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow?
What is Jimmy Johnson without the Cowboys that he had? Right? What is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady?
Andy Reid without Patrick Mahomes was a coach that could never win the big one.
I mean, seriously.
And now he only ever wins the big one.
Only one we've seen do well in a short window with back-to-back quarterbacks, you just mentioned it. It's Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah,
right?
Most recently, for sure. Definitely.
You got a guy in Sean McVay. Sean McVay.
Let's say Kyle Shanahan.
That's a Kyle Shanahan.
He's taken two teams to a Super Bowl with two different quarterbacks.
Couldn't get it
Brock
out of
Purdy
Trey.
and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Couldn't get it out of Trey.
Trey also broke his leg.
True too.
Yeah.
But to that point, you got Sean McVay, right?
Or tore his ACL, whichever one it was, yeah.
I think it's ACL on the sideline. Yeah. You got Sean McVay that shipped off Jared Goff to get a better version.
But what is success, right? Like he did take the same Rams team to two Super Bowls with, again, two different quarterbacks, with Jared Goff and with Matthew Stafford. And he won the one with Stafford.
He did do that. But again, looking at what Goff is and looking at also what Stafford are also, we're realizing they have unique talents. Yeah. Like, is Will Levis that unique of a player to get that type of production out of him? That's what we're really asking.
I think he's a unique player who just, when it's bad, it's like his bottom 10% of plays are just catastrophically bad.
They are.
And again, we talk about what's the difference between a good player and a bad player in the NFL. All these guys are talented. All of them can do world-class things. But what is your percentage of bad plays, and how much worse are those than your not so good plays, right? Like, if your 10% of your worst plays are like consistently costing your team points, I can't work with that.
Right.
Good players in this league, they're bottom 10%, because everyone makes mistakes. Like, everyone has bad plays, but they minimize those mistakes to where it doesn't hurt your football team to the level of what Will Levis's mistakes are.
And if we're talking about that too, here's the other side of, okay, you're not hurting us. That stretch that he had of 3 games, you're not hurting us. You're delivering the ball the way you need to.
But how much are you really helping us?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're still losing as you aren't doing well. Like, I hate a teammate, man, that's, hey, we lost, but look, I got mine. Like, that's what it felt like over that stretch.
Let's catch up on the phone, 615-737-1045. Richard is in Winchester first up. Hey, Richard.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
We got you.
All right, listen. Listen, you can't bring Sam Darnold down here because something y'all been talking about. Kirk Cousins doesn't have the same passer rating in Atlanta he had in Minnesota. It's Minnesota. You bring Sam Darnold down here, he's going to lay an egg. He's going to go back to being Sam Darnold. Stop. You know the elephant in the room is the quarterback. You need to draft a quarterback next year. If one of those two are available and you pick in between 2 and 5, you draft either Shador or Cam Ward. Stop. Draft a quarterback. Draft a quarterback. Draft a quarterback if Will Levis is not your guy. I don't want to hear this about defensive end or
yeah, but Richard, what if you don't love one of those quarterbacks? Like to me, that's how teams get themselves in trouble. Is they just draft a guy because they feel like they have to. But what if that guy they don't feel like is going to be very good?
Then why did you draft Will Levis?
Well, because they thought they could work with it. They thought they could develop and get something good out of it.
You're going to tell me you can work with Will Levis, but you can't with Ward or Shador? Are you kidding me?
I mean, if you don't want Will Levis, then wait till you watch Cam Ward's tape because he's got a lot of the same issues that Will Levis does, man.
Okay, take a poll. Ask the fans who would be a better quarterback, Ward or Will Levis?
Well, I mean, you put Will Levis and
you put him against me.
People who commit war crimes, and people are going to vote for Ramon over Will.
Yes,
people hate
easily.
Will Levis in this city. Of course, they're going to vote for whoever's new and exciting and fresh because they haven't seen that guy fail in a Titans uniform yet. Will Levis has.
I get where he's coming from and saying like you got to go get a quarterback, but like me personally, I don't. The talent is there for me as far as Shador. I think Cam has some talent. I don't know how deep it is or what's his.
Cam's a project.
Here's the thing then. In my personal opinion, I don't think this team is ready for a young quarterback just yet.
Like draft a QB no matter what is how you end up with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like there is an element of luck to it. Like you got to be bad at the right time. Unfortunately, you're not.
Yes.
It sucks. But the Titans are not bad at the right time to draft a really good quarterback. If they'd been in this situation last year, we'd be in business.
You get Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, right. Like that is how you talk yourself into Kenny Pickett. That's the best example.
Yeah.
You can't just take a quarterback just because you have to have one. Like if you're going to commit your future to a guy, you better love him. That's the mistake this organization just made. They took a guy they were 1 foot out on. 1 foot in, 1 foot out on. And look what happened. Here we are 2 years later, starting the process over again.
It's the same chase you ran into with Traylon. Trying to immediately replace him with a guy that you thought was just like him.
That's 100% right.
Don't go to me, my mindset has been, all right, if you're picking in the top, take a left tackle and move JC. And if it's not one of those positions, you got to find a dynamic playmaker. Who are your ex-players on this team? Because if you look at Minnesota, one thing they do, he was right about, Minnesota's got a lot of ex-players, like meaning dynamic players.
Yeah.
And this team is low on that department right now.
I agree. Then we get comments like they need to start Levis again and get in position for Arch. Arch Manning is a backup quarterback in college football. I know everyone's in love with his last name, especially in this state. The guy started like 2 games.
And got bodied out of the Georgia game.
What are we talking about, man? Like, just let it happen. Let it play out. Like, we barely even know who the quarterbacks available for 2025 are. I don't want to talk about 2026 yet.
Yeah, that's the way it's working.
It's just powder dry.
No, but
powder dry.
It's a strong conversation, and we ain't even got to the offseason yet.
Real quick, do you think Brian Callahan's the one making the QB decision? Does Amy Adams-Strunk lend her voice to that at all? On Will Levis versus Mason Rudolph?
I personally don't think so yet. I don't think she's landing it.
Okay. I hope not.
I don't think so, and I hope not.
Yeah.
Those could be both false.
I think it's a discussion to get back into, whether ownership should get involved with that. We'll see. 615-737-1045 is our number. We'll catch up on more of your phone calls. We'll also shift gears to Tennessee and Ohio State. Reese Davis on the College Game Day podcast gave interesting insight into his meetings with the Ohio State team. Ramon, we got talks of players-only meetings and things of that nature going on in Columbus. I got one word for that. For Tennessee's perspective, good. That's next.
Yeah. The holiday fun continues at Genesis Diamonds with the year's best finance offer now through Christmas Eve. Genesis loves last minute shoppers, man. They've got tons of great ideas, incredible value prices, and 5-year 0-interest financing. So you can splurge on that $9,000 diamond ring and pay just $150 a month. Or how about that $5,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $85 a month. You can even finance the sales tax. And you can use this amazing offer on anything too. Designer engagement ring classics like diamond pendants and bracelets, and all Genesis hand-selected GIA certified diamonds are included. And so are the luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Is this the year you treat someone or even yourself with the Rolex or that amazing Diamond Eternity band? At Genesis, they have the best holiday collection ever with case after case of headliner gifts that are romantic and timeless. And with Genesis guaranteed best value price and 5-year 0-interest finance offer, you can make this the best Christmas ever and still stay in budget. Merry Christmas from Genesis Diamonds. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit.
Shifting the conversation to Tennessee, Ohio State coming up in seconds. It's RKW continuing this morning in studio on 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. We do have many of you who want to talk about the Titans quarterback situation and decision, though. Ramon, I say we hear from the people and then shift gears to
I can't wait, man.
Tennessee and OSU.
I enjoy it.
Let's go rapid fire on the phone, starting with Corey in Pleasant View. Corey, what's up?
What up, Core?
Hey, good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Good deal. Hey, I am in agreement with the both of you regarding that last call. We do not need to draft a quarterback right now. I mean, there's two in this class. Shadir Sanders would never fit here in Nashville, I don't think, especially with Titans fans being as crazy as they are most of the times. And Cam Ward going to the Giants is basically a done deal based off many sources. So, I think there's a lot of things to figure out that some people aren't taking into account. And, that's Brian Callahan. I mean, if you go and look, and I know Mike Herndon put out a stat a couple weeks ago, but, it was something like, 7 out of the 12 games we were either up or tied at halftime at one point, and then, we go to lose. And what I see with Brian Callahan's offense is, as him as a play caller, our first two drives, we look unstoppable, and then we kind of fizzle out. So I kind of think it's super important for Mason Rudolph to maybe start the rest of the season to, see if Brian Callahan's offense is as good as we thought it was. And then, going into next year, I think we need to draft an edge rusher with that first round pick. And then knowing that this draft is very, very heavy with good tackles, maybe get that in the second round, put that around a team.
Would you real quick as you're reeling? Would you hate if you drafted another tackle in the first 7 picks?
No, okay. I wouldn't hate it. I get what you mean by putting Latham over there, but I think the number one thing right now is we don't know if it. We know Will Levis isn't necessarily going to be that franchise quarterback, but we also don't know. Is Brian Callahan's offense gonna, if another quarterback comes in, are they gonna? Because in the install with Greg Cosell, he mentioned that some of these plays Brian Callahan is scrambling
Thanks,
up.
Corey. We'll talk about it. We appreciate it. We got a lot of folks on the line. We got to keep it moving.
I promise you it's not personal.
Get the hell out of here!
Stop. Be nice to Corey.
You was making some great points right there.
Be nice to Corey.
It was not personal. I want you to know that.
We just got to keep
We just load it right now.
And never come back.
Bird.
We're playing good cop, bad cop. Good Bert, bad Bert. I'm just kidding, Corey. That's what we're playing live on air.
Corey was good right there, though.
No, but I do think the point is the right one, that we got to figure out if Brian Callahan can coach.
Yeah.
And putting Mason Rudolph in allows us to further evaluate the coaching staff.
Real quick, I heard it be brought up a little bit yesterday, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but he got called Charlie Checkdown. Yeah, like
Mason Rudolph.
Yeah. Are you opposed to like him taking what's in front of him? Like, is that
you talking about Mason Rudolph?
Yeah,
he's a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Of course, he's Charlie checked out.
Okay, for sure.
That's what backup quarterbacks do in this league.
Find a way to.
Yeah, they get the ball from point A to point B and manage the offense.
But if you know what's crazy, that's the play. That's the quarterback play, though. Like, why am I trying to force it?
It's part of it.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's
Tom Brady won a Super Bowl like that to James White.
And so did Peyton Manning a couple of years ago. Not that long. I've been 10 years ago now. I feel old, but
we put bad labels on stuff sometimes.
I also think his point about Shedeur is wrong. That he wouldn't fit here in this market. If you think Shedeur Sanders wouldn't fit in this market, then I'd love to hear the market you think he would fit in. Because as far as NFL markets go, this one's pretty tame. Like the media here compared to the media in Vegas, like where a lot of people think he's going to end up.
Yeah.
And that's not a slight of the media here. It's just different. Let's get another call in here before we shift to college football. Let's go to Tyler in Smyrna. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, I just wanted to pile in on some of the stuff that other callers are saying. You guys are saying this might be spoken like I have PTSD as a Titans fan, because we've been pretty bad in the draft, in my opinion. But the draft is such a crapshoot. Like we've got to start talking and thinking about other options at quarterback outside of the draft. I know you guys mentioned that yesterday. I'm not going to speak on Ramon's options. All I'll say is that if Carson Wentz keeps getting talked about, I'm going to be nauseous. But
I backed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But Justin Fields is the man. I'm with you. To me, that's the most feasible, realistic option. Sam Darnold's going to get a bag. I don't know that I feel comfortable trying to compete, like giving him that bag, and then we get stuck in a bad situation. But we got to start looking at options outside of the draft. I think you just draft the best player at your position.
I agree.
You guys.
Thank you, Tyler. I completely agree. As of today, and again, it's December 17th. We're very far from April. But as of today, I completely agree. I don't think this team's ready to draft a quarterback yet.
And just real quick, you're hired to play in a city when you draft it. And more times than not, unless you're Eli, you play in that city.
99.999% of the time. You figure it out and you say, all right, well, that's where I'm going.
I like to think that Boulder is a lot like Nashville in a sense.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it's a little bit more richer, probably. No, Nashville rich as hell too. What am I talking about? But just like the dynamic
I'm not on board with that one, Ramon.
The dynamic of people, though, is what I'm saying. Like, he's been in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, I think people are a little too obsessed with the Dion thing and with the off-field attention. Like, beggars can't be choosers.
Dion has stealing recruits from Alabama. Like, he got bigger fish to fry than watch Shador.
If it makes him good at quarterback, I'll buy his mixtape. I don't care. Like, this franchise hasn't had enough good quarterback play to really be, like, choosy about what they do when they're not playing football. Yeah. Like, I just want a good quarterback. I don't care if they are, a rapper or a country singer or they want to do a set down at Tootsie's on Tuesday nights at 7. Bring your friend. Like, if you're good at quarterback, literally, I'll go show up and I'll hand out flyers for your mixtape out on Broadway to anybody who wants it. But he's going to get picked before the Titans are available to pick.
It is.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some college football.
I'm here for it.
Biggest question I have, Ramon, for Tennessee, Ohio State. Can Ohio State repeat history? Can they do what they did 2 years ago after a loss to Michigan, get off the mat and look competent the way they did in a game they should have beaten Georgia in the Peach Bowl semifinal 2 years ago? Reese Davis, ESPN College Game Day, did a College Game Day podcast yesterday and gave, I think, some insight into what this Ohio State roster is thinking right now.
The word redemption came up often in talking with the Buckeyes and the players in terms of redeeming the season. They had a pretty spirited meeting, it sounded like, after the Michigan game, in which they tried to address what went wrong in that and how they could keep that from cratering their chances of winning the playoff. And then to a man, they all referred to 4 games. Not that they were looking past Tennessee. They have great respect for Tennessee. But their goal was still to win the national championship. And they feel like they've all admitted that pretty much relative to their roster, they've probably underachieved this year in terms of having lost 2 games, didn't get in the Big Ten championship game. They did at least get a home game, and they're excited about it, and they're hopeful that their fans are going to rally behind them.
So that's Reese Davis. Anytime there's talks of, like, explosive meetings, right?
Yeah.
He didn't use the word players-only meetings, but clearly, Ramon, that Michigan game is weighing heavily on Ohio State's fan base, coaching staff, and roster. Chip Kelly talked about this week in the media, like, yeah, we didn't put our offense in good enough position to be successful, but we've got that fixed now. Well, what do you make of what Reese says there?
They're searching. And that this late in the season, you should not be on the search for wins and search for meanings and search for just a stronghold of you just being good. To me, when you have these type of meetings, they can be good. I won't act like, hey, they're scrambling for answers that they don't have, the ability to get. That Ohio State team, to that point from what Reese just said, they're a good roster. They are good players on their team and always have been. But the idea that you got to have a Common to Jesus meeting about the ability to play football and play it hard and hope, like when Reese said he's hoping the fan base show up, like they're trying to create a us versus the world. When you're at home, it's your world, Ohio State. Right. And that to me says a lot about, one, the leadership of Ryan Day. Like, you can lose a game and still be fine. Like, we're going to see the eventual Super Bowl champion in the NFL probably lose a game and, like, late December, maybe the last game of the season. But that doesn't change your goals. It seems to me like Ohio State is just happy to be there in a sense because they lost the Michigan game. Because they can't find out what they are as a team now with their head coach, and how they, for 4 years straight, lost to the team up north in Michigan.
They're happy that the new system allows them the chance for redemption.
It's weird. It's weird hearing that come from them. On paper, Ohio State's roster is way better.
It's probably on paper the best roster in college football.
It is, in my opinion. So for them to be coming together and having a meeting like this based off one game says a lot about just how fragile they potentially are as a team.
I think it's based on 4 games.
4 games. The last 4 years.
The last 4 years against Michigan.
That's fragile, Will.
So I think there's 2 ways that this can go, and I think Tennessee plays a really important part in it. A fast start is so critical to Tennessee in this game. If you can turn that crowd against the home team just a little bit early in the game, I think you have a real opportunity to win this game. Now, granted, Tennessee can trail early like they did against Vandy and find a way. But again, like, this is the horseshoe. You're not playing at Vanderbilt Stadium when you're playing in a, home stadium construction site, essentially, with all your fans. And yeah, there'll be a lot of Tennessee fans at this too, but make no mistake, it's still a tough place to play. We talked with Joshua Perry, former Ohio State linebacker, last week. It was on NBC Sports, and I asked him about this, right? Mm-hmm. We had the exact conversation. Hey, can Ohio State get off the mat and do what they did 2 years ago? And I thought he gave a really interesting answer last week.
I think it's going to be harder mentally for Ohio State this year to get back up. As I mentioned, just the path in general to trying to win a championship, which is what they set out to do this year, is really difficult from where they're at with that 8-9 matchup and as they go on. But I saw the way Ryan Day looked after that Michigan loss, 4th in a row. He kind of looked like he was, somewhere that wasn't planet Earth, just trying to process that. When you start hearing people calling for your job and the noise gets a lot louder, I think that becomes hard. And then these guys set out, and they said it from the beginning of the year. Ryan Day said it, the players said it. Their goals for this year, beat Michigan, win a Big Ten title, win the national title. Well, only one of those goals is still alive right now. So to answer your question, I think the players are going to be in a really good spot, and I think Ryan Day knows exactly what he has to do. But, as you get into the game early on, if things aren't going your way, how quickly does it feel like it can collapse? Because I do think it's a precarious spot to be in for the Buckeyes.
Ramon, Tennessee in the first quarter this season has outscored opponents 102-33. But 71 of those points were against Kent State and Chattanooga. Against Power 4 teams, Tennessee has outscored their opponents in the first quarter 41-33. That, to me, feels like the game-defining stat and phase. If this team gets off to a good start, I really think they win on Saturday night.
I do too, but it'll come down to me, I think, in 2 different phases. Of course, the trenches is always going to play a part. And that's where, if you look back at the record of, you brought it up, Ohio State in the last 4 years, the only team, and I say this and I hope it stays the same, the only team they beat after losing to Michigan was Utah, a Pac-12 team at the time. And that was a 48-45 game. The hangover of that game has bled into their continuation of their season so far. And I know there's opt-outs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
I think bowl games is kind of hard to judge.
It is, but there's pride in winning those games because they played in some big-time bowls, too. Like the Rose Bowl was the only one that they won. In 2022, they played in the Peach Bowl, which is now a bigger bowl, too. They lost to Georgia 41-42. Like, they're in it. But here's the other side, too, for the Vols as it pertains to Ohio State in this matchup and them getting behind. If you punch them in the mouth early and that crowd changes over in Ohio State at the Ohio Stadium, then to me it comes down to penalties. I was listening to Doug Matthews this past Sunday, and he brought up the Vols, highly penalized.
They are.
Can they control their emotions in a game like this? And where does Ohio State feel like they can capitalize on the Vols in those moments? Having a freshman at quarterback could play a part, but here's the thing about it, too. If you beat them up and move them around, especially on the edge with Dylan Sampson, Ohio State rolls back. And that's, to me, that questions of having a player-led meeting and the uncertainty of what they are as a team is as good as they are on paper, you'll have a lot of portal guys after this one.
Yeah, Tennessee 122nd in penalty yards per game. in
tough.
college football. Only Colorado, Alabama, and Ole Miss are more penalized among Power 4 teams.
We going to get the chance to see Alabama on Friday, too? They play?
I think you know the answer to that.
I do know the answer to that. I do.
I mean, we have to congratulate the ReliaQuest Bowl. They have the youngest player in their bowl games history, in Ryan Williams.
I mean, depending on his NIL, heck, he might not play in that game.
I mean, well, depending on if he's in the portal or not.
I say that in
his Instagram story has been very interesting to follow the last couple of days.
But no, my thing is this: it has been. He's been going crazy.
Yeah,
on social media.
I think he's kind of flirting with it a little bit.
But the point to be made is this: that hangover from that Michigan game, like, is one thing to correct it on the field immediately, but it's been 2 weeks of waiting. Will Howard has an injury, from what we understand too. They've been talking about a little bit. Yeah, he's been talking about his shoulder. But you hadn't seen that one, his injury update? He's been dealing with it. I think he left the Michigan game somewhat earlier, had to be checked out too. But he's that to me is also another issue, is if they can get to him. He's had, I think, a shoulder.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if you knock him a few times and you're able to stop their running game, you got a real opportunity, which is why, again, they're bringing up this players conversation to me, and I did look, it's going to take all of them and all the talent that they have, because if he's dinged up and Tennessee's running the ball, the shoe could get quiet.
Yeah, Ryan Day is saying he's got a bounce in his step, wants to get back in the field, and said he's doing great when asked about it this week. The beginning of this game and the red zone, to me, and those two things have often been related, where Tennessee's had a really good opening script drive and then fumbled on the 10 or fumbled inside the 20. To me, feels like the difference between Tennessee winning this game and getting to the Rose Bowl and losing it, honestly. I think interesting when you look at this team too, Ramon, the element of Will Howard passing the football and getting after Tennessee's pass defense. Tennessee's pass defense has not been significantly tested. And believe me, I believe in the corners Tennessee has, and Ricky Gibson and Jermon McCoy. I think they are legit. But looking at the numbers, Tennessee only played 2 of the top 6 passing offenses in the SEC this year, and it was the 2 teams they lost to, Georgia and Arkansas. Yeah. The passing offenses Tennessee beat this year were ranked 16th, 15th, 14th, 12th, 7th, and 8th in the SEC. Ohio State is near the top of college football in every category.
I hope Will Howard does press it.
To me, though, they don't have a tight end that could hurt them the way over the middle of the field the way Georgia did. And that's the difference. They are more of they got the 3 wide receivers, Abuka, Tate, and Smith. But G. Scott, their 5th leading receiver, the tight end, 150 yards this season. I don't see them following the Georgia philosophy and path in that way, which I think changes it a little bit. 615-737-1045. We'll talk more college football playoff when we come back. Which game are you most confident in that you know the result of this weekend? We'll talk about that next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, or gaining weight or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out, all right? At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. With a simple test, too, and with their on-site lab, you'll get the results back right there on the spot. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office either. The physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients, and super important right here, the personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments, all right? And also, for established patients, they offer a convenient physician-monitored at-home treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. And at Low T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
RKW 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the first half of the program. 615-737-1045. Which game are you most confident about this weekend in the college football playoff, Ramon Foster?
Most confident about is probably Notre Dame, Indiana.
What are you confident in?
Notre Dame's going to roll them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do think so.
I don't really have a good read on that game.
For me, with how they've recruited and that defense that Marcus Freeman has, I feel like them, and I'm into the quarterback at Indiana, but here's my thing behind it. Going into their place with the idea that they got to play that defense. That's one thing that Marcus Freeman and his crew have done is play good defense. So they're sound. They don't make any mistakes. They don't have the best athletes in the world as it pertains to the talent that they have, but they play mistake-free football. And that's where a team like Indiana that want to throw it across the yard probably going to have some issues. That, to me, is, I think, for sure.
I think it's a really interesting game, and the way that offense travels in that weather especially is really interesting. We'll see. Anything could happen in that game, and I wouldn't be shocked. Right. Can Riley Leonard lead Notre Dame if they have to throw the ball? It, to me, is a really interesting question in that game, because I feel like we had major doubts and concerns about Riley Leonard early in the season when they lost to Northern Illinois. And then they just kind of vanished because no one really tested Notre Dame's offense to the level that A&M did in week one and the level that Northern Illinois did. They would just kind of beat them up early in the season. They are a big, big question mark team to me. You got some people who believe they could make the national championship game. You got others who believe they're going to get upset by Indiana this weekend.
No, it can go either way. Riddle me this. Is there a quarterback in this playoffs that can really strengthen himself into the quarterback conversation in pre-draft? Like, can a Curtis Rourke do it? If he goes in and beat Notre Dame to that point and goes into the second round and plays well, like one thing we were talking about as far as Sam Darnold is if he continues to play well through the playoffs, that strengthens his ability to create a market for himself going into the offseason. Can one of these college quarterbacks in the CFP strengthen that going into the draft season?
Yeah, I don't know, because, I mean, it's a good question. Like, Michael Penix, like, how much did the run Washington made in the Pac-12 championship and the semifinal lead to him getting drafted in the top 10 by Atlanta? I mean, maybe. I think it just depends. I think it's a little bit apples and oranges, because there's so much more that goes into evaluating a college quarterback than, hey, this NFL quarterback who's already been vetted could take the next step. Like, I don't know. I think it's a little bit different.
You like Riley Leonard, though, at Notre Dame? Or,
I just don't know what he is for this team. Yeah. Like, I have not seen Notre Dame play enough competent programs to really know. Yeah. It's not totally their fault. Like, a lot of the teams on their schedules ended up being really bad.
Yeah, it's true.
To me, I'm so confident in Texas just manhandling Clemson.
Straight up.
I am. I really am. Clemson against SEC teams this year has scored 17 total points. They are 0-2.
And the SEC teams were?
Georgia and South Carolina. Ooh. Bookends of the season. I know the Georgia game is like an eternity ago.
I know.
Kid Klubnik's played pretty well. I just think Texas up front. Sounds like Kelvin Banks is going to be back for Texas. Really good left tackle who's probably going to go into the draft as the number one left tackle on the board again.
I believe he won the Outlander.
Yeah, him and Tavondre back-to-back winners of that. Yep. Tavondre won it last year.
Is that an offense and defense award?
Yeah, it is.
The best lineman in there.
There you go.
Because John Henderson won it at UT.
Fair enough.
Yep.
I feel really confident. I am really curious what Arch Manning's role in this game is. Really interested.
Talking about moving forward? Moving Quinn out the way?
No. I mean two-quarterback system.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you have a runner in Arch to go with Quinn Ewers? Are you willing to go to Arch Manning if Quinn Ewers has a couple drives that he just can't put it all together? I think this is the kind of game, though, for Texas that isn't really going to test their quarterback issues, because I think they can just give it to Contravian Wisner and just run the ball.
No, for real.
Like, I think they can just bludgeon Clemson up front, and it's not going to matter.
We don't believe in what Clemson's defense is?
No.
We don't.
Not at all.
That's the for sure.
Not even a
I
little
actually
bit.
have more questions about that one because
It's not the Clemson defense of years past.
I feel like the same questions that Texas is asking themselves as far as, what are they as a team? It's the same thing like them and Ohio State is in the same boat. So I don't know how Texas is going to come out in this game. And watching Quinn Ewers in that Texas game, to me, he's throwing the football like Uncle Rico, man. Like, I hate his throwing motion.
Ryan Wingo down there somewhere.
Oh my God. No. Oh, no. I hate his throwing motion. He throws from the hip, it seems
I
like.
just don't think it's going to matter. I think they can run the ball enough and do like the simple stuff against Clemson where he's not going to have to do calculus. He can just do pre-algebra and be fine. Against Georgia, you got to do some calculus against that defense.
You willing to pick Texas this game?
Yeah. No, I'm all over Texas in that game. I think it is not close.
I'm going to roll with Dabo on this one. I ain't picking it in my Thursday 3. Yeah, to win.
To win the game? You think Clemson goes to Austin and beats Texas?
I do.
Woo-hoo.
I do.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
A lot of orange in that stadium.
There will be a lot of orange.
Neither of them pinned to 151
That's the wrong one, though.
615-737-1045. Illinois with an ugly orange, by the way. If we're ranking oranges, Illinois is easily a bottom 3 orange in sports.
Savage was telling me he was leaning in to our teammate over here, Brad Hopkins. Man.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying, yeah, Brad. Text from Brad coming in 3, 2.
Yeah, who won this weekend in a buzzer beater? You remember that game?
That would be the Tennessee. That would be the number 1 team in the land, Ramon Foster.
Who's that?
That would be the Tennessee Vols.
Who they play? You remember who they played?
They played Illinois.
They played Illinois at their place.
At their place.
It was 8-on-5.
They played 8 versus 5. Coming up, Brian Callahan talks about the decision to potentially bench Will Levis. The headline of the morning will reset for you if you're just now joining us. Coming up next.
What's going on? 8:03, good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Monday Night Football doubleheader. Vikings took down the Bears 30-12. Caleb Williams struggled to get much going, finishing 18 of 31 for 191 yards and a touchdown, while the Vikings practically did whatever they wanted. Vikings moved to 12-2 and are the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. Second leg of your doubleheader saw the Falcons stop the Raiders on the road 15-9. Kirk Cousins didn't have a great game, but he didn't have to because Bijan Robinson took over in the run game, 22 carries for 125. Falcons win the shinier of two turds trophy and move to 7-7. After the game, head coach Raheem Morris on Kirk Cousins said, quote, he's got to play better, got to find a way to get him to play better, have to play better at the quarterback position. And tonight, we've got our third bowl game of the year. Memphis taking on West Virginia in the Scooters Coffee Bowl. That game starts at 9 o'clock. You can watch it on ESPN. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show and hour number 3, getting started on your Tuesday morning. RKW. Ramon Foster, Robert Walsh, Will Bowling. No Kayla this morning or this week. She is out on a boat.
On a boat.
Stream it live at 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Still to come this morning, Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3 in 15 minutes. We'll talk Tennessee, Ohio State. Plus, the latest out of the transfer portal. Couple of linemen on campus over the weekend. Hey, it's the only sport in the world that has free agency going on during the postseason. Because we've got adults making decisions like this, he says with the utmost sarcasm. Brian Callahan yesterday, he's an adult. Yeah. Seamless transition. Talked about the decision to potentially bench Will Levis. The question was, what will it take for Will to earn trust back? And Callahan says, well, we still have some confidence in him.
I've had confidence in Will. I've been, I think I've supported Will at every possible turn. We've poured into Will as much as we possibly can. And sometimes you have bad games and those things happen. So I don't live and die by it. And I don't think that because you get pulled from a game, that means that it's over for a player. I just think that was the decision we had to make in the moment. And there's a lot of things that Will's done well. I think he's improved. There's a lot of playing of the quarterback position, I think, that he's done a lot better job of. And he had a really poor outing yesterday. And that was that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end for him at any point. That's just part of playing quarterback in the league. There's plenty of guys that have gotten pulled from games after poor performances, and they get better for it and come back better from it. So those are the things that I'm looking at, and ultimately for us, that it's nothing in this league is final in that regard. There's no finality to that. So he's still a young player. He's still learning, and we're still coaching and trying to get the best out of him. And again, I think I've seen improvement, and he had a bad day.
He had a bad day. That was a week after another bad day, mind you, against Jacksonville. From NFL Pro, Ramon Foster, Mason Rudolph's plus 9.3 EPA and 73% success rate are the two highest marks by a Titans quarterback this season.
Yeah. Backup's better than the starter. At least, and situationally, it seems like the Buffalo game was a good game for Mason. I can definitely say that. Snap and got botched. They got beat down really bad there. But we're looking at the record and opportunities given. You got more positives with Mason than you do with Will. And it ain't been a whole lot in general this season. But when we look at the last two games against the worst two defenses, two of the worst defense in the league, well, 61% completion. And that's also skewed because last game, what happened? You were 7 of 12 or 8 of 12 with 2 interceptions or 3 interceptions on top of that. What, are we really looking at that? And then, of course, no touchdowns and also a fumble, too. To me, those are the issues. And Coach Callahan's correct, though, because I was looking up who's been benched quarterbacks. You know who? Drew Brees. Early in his career. Here's what I'll read to you. San Diego benched Brees in favor of Doug Flutie after failed to score in 3 straight games. Sounds familiar to you? And on top of that, they had a 1-7 start. After that, here's the thing. He got traded and sent to another team. That's the thing about benching your starter. It's hard to go back to him when you don't have that much invested in him or you find a different solution. My thing is there are different solutions to what Will Levis is providing you. And he's talking about not being out on him. That's okay because he's still employed by your team, correct? You got to say these things. I understand the coach speak behind it, but nothing right now can convince me that you can be okay with parading him back out there and feel like you got a strong opportunity to win with what he's presented you with. Not just this last half of the season, but the first half of it too. If he was to, well, I'll put it this way. There were cheers when Mason got announced he was going into the game.
Oh, yeah. Of course there were.
So what does that say to you? Like,
so his fans are done, but we've known that.
But even so, here's the thing though too. Perception is reality with a lot of this stuff in sports.
Sometimes.
Guys get voted into the Pro Bowl based off names sometimes, right? Because we perceive them to be good still.
Like Jaquan Jackson.
There we go. We can tell what the product of Will Levis is from week to week. And here's the other thing, though, too. Like when we're speaking about pouring, he mentioned pouring into Will Levis and backing him, too. When you do that and you set him up for success, from my understanding, for the people that study analytics, the plays that were bad for him, there was no pressure. There was protection. Quietly, NPF hasn't been as problematic as we like to think.
It's a very low bar, but I'll give it to you.
I'm giving you that, though.
Extremely low bar. He's given up 10 sacks this season for PFF, but congrats to him on going 2 straight without giving up one.
That's awesome right there, man. But what I'm saying is this. He's just simply not making good decisions. When we speak about like having the mental capacity to make plays for your team, is not shown the entire year.
The only reason to put Will Levis back in this week is if you want to lose. And I don't think this organization wants to lose. I think it's that simple.
It is.
The only reason to continue with Levis is if you want to tank enough to get a quarterback. I don't see this organization signing up for that. I think Will Levis has started his last game as a Tennessee Titan. And I think Brian Callahan's telling it to you if you listen closely. Yep.
And that to me, like I said, more and the other side of this too, he keeps mentioning the team. You know what I'm saying? That everybody inside the locker room needs to have a feeling that they can win football games. Because when it comes down to how you are evaluated and how you're looked at, like there will be probably more turnover and change because the moving parts that they have right now aren't contributing to their wins. I say this, though, too. The defense, given what they've been presenting with, short fields a good bit of the year, you got to still give it up, I think, for Denard and what he's attempting to put out there. I think most defenses are due 1 or 2 bad games. Washington was a bad game for him, and Green Bay was a bad game for him. What happened in Buffalo? Primarily offensive issues.
Detroit. A lot of short fields, a lot of bad special teams.
So I thought about that after yesterday. They've done a good bit of their part for what the expectation of what a team is supposed to do to support.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if you asked, has the defense performed well enough for this team to meet its preseason expectations? I think you'd say probably. Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And they haven't been perfect. I mean, they could still be better in the red zone. They could have been a lot better on third down.
It could have been.
This past Sunday as well. But again, like, what do you expect on a defense that, spent a lot of money and had some names, but also traded away its best linebacker, had its best safety go down with an injury, its best corner go down with an injury, its second best corner go down with an injury. And then at one point, you've got Cedric Gray, who was hurt most of the season, partnering with a converted safety at inside linebacker together on the field at the same time. And we're out here taking victory laps on, hey, Otis Reese and Luke Gifford played really well, again, who are career special teamers. So I think considering what he's been given, Denard Wilson has exceeded expectations with that defense.
And being presented with that, right, and having a guy at quarterback, and let's just focus on him, that is taken away from those good deeds, that creates division right there.
Yeah, it does.
As much as you want to support him as your teammate, that creates division because you'll have guys walking up and down the sideline looking like, you going to do anything to help us? That happens.
Yeah. I think you have a legitimate defensive coordinator still. But he needs a lot more, and he also needs a legitimate edge rusher. Because it feels like if this team had a little bit of a pass rush on defense, this could be a pretty special defense.
It could be.
Considering considering how they've made it work with the defensive backfield, and Darrell Baker playing as well as he has, with Jarvis Brownlee stepping up, with Roger McCreary holding it down, with the safeties, with Amani Hooker, who's quietly had a really good season. Yeah. If they just had a pass rush, and again, that's a big if. It's like saying, if this quarterback could throw it accurately. Like, I get it, right? It's a premium position. That's going to be a really big priority for this team moving forward this offseason. Coming up next, VolQuest's Austin Price will join us. We've got college football free agency happening simultaneously with the college football playoff. We're going to break them down both with Austin coming up.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Y'all, Hiller's giving away cash for the holidays. Currently, man, it is back. They're giving away cash with select purchases like a $500 Visa gift card when you buy a select new HVAC system or new whole home generator. You can also get $250 Visa gift card when you buy a new tankless water heater. They are super clutch, man. They got other deals going on, too, like the $99 drain cleaning special that's going on this month. Get your house together before the new year. I'm telling you, more guests are coming over, I'm sure, for the holidays. Don't want that uncle, man, clogging up toilets or doing anything crazy around your house. Get them, whether it's electrical, whether it's heating, cooling, whatever. They can do it for you. These deals are available until the end of the year, so schedule today at happyhiller.com.
Hey, we all love living here in Nashville, and let's all admit it is a booming city. And that means it can be tough, though, sometimes to find a local agent that you trust when it comes to a proven track record. And that's why you definitely need to check out Bernie Gallerani Real Estate. My friend Bernie Gallerani has years of experience. He's not going to let you down. In fact, Bernie is going to guarantee to sell your home in 30 days or less. Or shoot, he's just going to buy it from you. Thanks to Bernie Gallerani and his real estate team, Cindy found her perfect home. She says they understood exactly what she needed. They even advised against making an offer on a higher priced home that just wasn't the right fit. They explored every corner of each property, and their agent's expert eye for potential renovations helped her find the perfect home. Bernie is the only real estate agent here in Nashville recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank, and the only agent I would trust to sell my home, so you can give him a call. In fact, he has his personal cell phone, and you can call him at 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644, or just go to BernieGallerani.com.
The glass is broken in a playoff game week here on RKW. Ramon Foster and Will Bowling with you. Kayla Anderson out today. Robert Walsh makes the show happen as we are joined by VolQuest's Austin Price. We got free agency and playoffs to talk about simultaneously in college football. Austin, what's up, sir? How are you?
So what you're telling me is I don't have to worry about being interrupted before I get done with my answer today. That's what you're telling me today.
Oh, wait. What is wrong with you, Austin?
Choosing violence to start the show.
You used to be better
today.
than this. You did.
You're feeling the playoff game week energy, aren't you, Austin?
It's easy to take little jabs when she's on a cruise. I mean, listen, man, when you're on a cruise and you're living the high life, you just have to expect and accept, the jabs when you're not here to yourself.
Easily. Speaking of cruise, I know you're a Disney family, man. Have you done the Disney cruise?
I have not done a Disney cruise. That is one thing I've not done that's Disney. I'm not opposed to it.
Hey.
Just,
Ramon speaks highly.
I'll be honest with you, it's elite. It is elite. They're going to tax you a little bit more like Disney. But hear me out, though, Austin. If that is an elite cruise, man, definitely do that.
Well, I have no doubt the entertainment would be much more up my alley than magicians and stuff like that.
Right.
Because, I love the Disney flavor. But at the same time, I don't have Ramon Foster money to go pay to go on a Disney cruise. If I had your money, Ramon, I'd burn mine.
See, this is what we do. Now I know we off to a good week.
Love it.
Austin, I know practice has been great this week. I know it has, man. You coming in firing darts like this, I'm here for it.
I
man.
love it. I love it. VolQuest's Austin Price, our guest. Austin, what is the X factor this weekend? Tennessee and Ohio State. We've broken this down for a week now. I think we're all ready for this game to be played. What is the biggest key for Tennessee, in your opinion, to pull off this upset?
I think they have to get off to a quick start. I think that's paramount. You're going to have more Tennessee fans in there than a lot of people expected just a few weeks ago. I'm expecting somewhere between 15 and 20, 15 and 20,000 Tennessee fans. And who knows what happens between now and then with Tennessee fans seeing prices drop, having more gobble up tickets and head to the Great White North. I guess for me, you've got to win, the line of scrimmage, and you got to get off to a quick start. I think if you can do those things, I think that Tennessee could go on the road and get what would be a massive win for the program and a massive win for this team.
It's interesting, Austin, a lot of the conversation around Nico Iamaleava, and I know you guys at VolQuest have been following his numbers since his big scramble against Alabama, where he's completed 68% of his passes, 12 touchdowns to only 1 interception. How much do you feel like Josh Heupel in this offense trusts Nico Iamaleava to go make some plays and win them this game? How much do they open things up in your mind, or how much does this still just, hey, manage the game, minimize that position, and let the rushing offense and Dylan Sampson lead the way?
I think it's time and place. I don't think they're going to go into it thinking conservatively. Now, if you have the lead, in the fourth quarter, are you out there running the same thing you're running in the first and second quarter? I think it depends on, do you feel like you got to have points? Do you feel like you can lean on your defense and get to the house and play mistake-free football on offense? But I do think that they'll be more open than they've been. I think you'll see, some different wrinkles because Josh Heupel kind of was, tongue-in-cheek, like it's going to be the same exact team you've seen on all 3 phases their whole year. Like, it was like he just having some fun yesterday when he asked if, what kind of new wrinkles, could be thrown in this 3-week window between games. And so I expect Tennessee to come out with a game plan to be aggressive. I expect them to use tempo because that's something Ohio State doesn't see a whole lot of. If they can get to that point, again, you've got to get to tempo before you can play with it, right? You've got to start strong. First down's key. And if those things can kind of get rolling downhill for you, Tennessee can really start having some success.
No doubt about it. Austin Price is with us this morning, VolQuest and On 3. Also, when you look at this game, too, you mentioned, just fast starts and coaches and stuff like that. Well, it's a tale of two coaches almost in a sense to me, man, with Coach Heupel somewhat in it as it pertains to UT fully behind him. When you look at Ryan Day and coaches that have been in this situation before, all right, they lose this game. It's a different conversation. Have you seen coaches go through this with this type of prestigious university where it's probably losing your gone as far as their history as of late?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly backs against the wall for Ryan Day, and Ohio State, so to speak. But, I mean, let's face it, if they move on from Ryan Day, they'll just hire another coach and still be elite. I mean, they're an elite program. I mean, the guy's lost, very few games in his tenure. Most of them have been to Michigan. Or SEC schools. And so, everybody knows Ohio State's record, like, they won in 14 or whatever it is, the last, 15 games against SEC teams. They can certainly lose a game at home to Tennessee. You lost at home to Michigan. The pressure to me is on Ohio State. It's not on Tennessee at all. Tennessee comes in with house money. You're on the road. You've not been a great road team. Ohio State put all that money into this particular team with Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Downs and just all these high-priced, as you called it to begin with, free agents that they brought in, last winter. The pressure's on them. They didn't even make it to the Big Ten championship game. Now they still have a chance to flip the script, reverse course, and go win a national championship, but the pressure is on the Buckeyes. And so that's why I said the start is key. If you get off to a quick start, how much doubt creeps in, how much do the fans go, enough of Ryan Day, and they just bail on you.
They got a receiving corps that's one of the best, if not the best, in all of college football, man, other than the 17-year-old at Alabama. As it pertains to Jamar McCoy turning into the dog that he has this year, now is collecting All-American accolades and everything behind it. How much of a, advantage does it give this Vols defense to have him on one side, Ricky Gibson, and just this D-line up front, too, to be able to shut down maybe one of those guys that Ohio State has at receiver?
Yeah, you're not going to field Chris Berman line. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. Yeah. I think that's kind of how you look at this. They're going to make plays, right? You can't allow them to have 40 and 50-yard touchdowns. They're going to catch passes on you. They're too elite at that level to not do that. So I think, having Jermod McCoy, Ricky Gibson, and Boo Carter playing at such a high level for almost the entire season, I think that helps Tennessee. I think that most teams couldn't match up on the outside with this Ohio State team. Tennessee can. Now, again, they're going to have some success against these guys, the Ohio State's going to have success against Tennessee, but, how much do you limit it? How much do you, they caught a ton of passes between the 20s, but Tennessee did a great job of bottling them up when they got in the red zone because Ohio State's been an elite red zone offense and defense all year long.
VolQuest, Austin Price, our guest at Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter. Austin, how much confidence does Tennessee's defensive staff have in Edwin Spillman, and how big of a role do you think he has to play Saturday night?
Well, he's going to have to play a fairly decent role. Ironically, this is the one team he chose Tennessee over. These were his two finalists, and now he goes to the Horseshoe to play against an Ohio State team, that offensively has a lot of, big-time pieces, especially at tailback and at receiver. So they're going to lean on him. He's going to probably play 25 to 30 snaps just based off of what Jalen Smith's done, the latter part of the year. And I think Tennessee's got to do that because you want to have, Arion Carter fresh as he can be, in the fourth quarter. So you've got to spell some of your main guys, which means Evan Spillman's going to have to play his best football of the season when he's not played a ton of football this season. And so, this has been a crash course the last 3 weeks to get him ready.
Austin, switching gears to the other stuff that coaches have to deal with playing in the college football playoff. It's crazy that free agency is happening during the postseason in this sport, which is not happening anywhere else in sports. Let's start with Wendell Moe, the offensive lineman from Arizona. I know you were able to catch up with him as he left campus over the weekend. What kind of impression did Tennessee make on him, and how big of a priority is he at a big position of need in the interior of that offensive line?
Yeah, Wendell Moe is someone who is, a player that Tennessee really would, covets, wants, and feels like they're trending for. I feel like Tennessee's in a good spot here leaving the visit. If he doesn't take any more visits, which the only other one would be Washington, I think Tennessee's in the best position to land Wendell. And, another Polynesian kid, continue kind of that poly pipeline that Tennessee started to slowly build, the last few years. And I think would be a huge get for the offensive interior, which is where Tennessee's trying to attack in the portal right now.
Austin, in that same context, man, you like to be an everything school as far as your football is concerned. I think Ohio State is probably wide receiver you at this point right now. But the way Tennessee has had 12 to 13 defensive linemen, is that something you think that Coach Gardner and the defense is going to try to do year in and year out with these transfers that are coming in? I said, of course, James Thompson, JVR Suggs from LSU. Like, these are guys that you want to come in and start playing so you can somewhat continue this pathway of defensive line dominance.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll ever have as many as they had this year.
I hope so.
Kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do feel like, that's the goal, is to continue to be able to have a bunch of fresh bodies to kind of rotate, because that's where Tennessee really started to, build its defense, just a few years ago, and it's culminated in such a successful group, this year. So, again, I don't know if it's 13, but, I do think that Coach Garner would certainly love to have, 10 guys he can roll out there every year, and, whether it be, seniors or down even to the freshmen that give you 8 to 10 snaps a game that, help, spell everybody. I think that's something that's quietly a goal of his, to kind of continue what he's had this year.
And in that same context, man, looking at the young freshmen that are coming, I know David Sanders Jr. is on campus. Ethan Utley from right here in the city is there too. What is this time of the year like for those guys? I know there's no school going on for them, so is it just strictly development practices for them?
Yeah, I think, for these, early enrollees, it's just about being here, being around it, helping where you can help. They've done, some freshman type practices, and that's where, they've been able to kind of see some of these guys out there running around, do some things. And, they like this group. DeJuan Morris at Murfreesboro, Oakland has flashed, when he's had, some opportunities just to run around and showcase his athleticism. David Sanders looks like David Sanders you would expect. Ethan Utley, as you mentioned, is someone I think can help Tennessee and will continue to add to depth to that defensive line that Rodney Garner is you were talking about. So, for these guys, for these freshmen, these true freshmen that are realistically could easily still be in high school, it's just about being around, being present, helping where you can help, and just kind of get a jump start on everything.
Austin Price of VolQuest on 3, our guests this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Austin, at running back and at wide receiver, Tennessee has lost a lot of talent out into the portal. You've got Caleb Webb, you've got Chaz Nimrod, Khalifa Keith, now Cam Selden, all entering that process. Where does Tennessee go at those two positions, if at all, in the portal? Are there any targets emerging, or is it kind of a waiting game maybe to shop guys on playoff teams when that 5-day window opens after their team gets knocked out, when they can then enter the portal?
I think it's a waiting game. I do think they'll add somebody at receiver. I do think they'll add somebody at running back because of what they've lost, because of who's left, and just the depth there. Had those players not left, I don't think Tennessee would have added anybody. But I do think it'll be more of a wait-and-see approach. There are no scheduled visits with anybody at running back or wide receiver. Now, there are some kids that Tennessee has taken a look at. They may have even reached out to that's in the portal. But, they do that a lot, and things never materialize into a visit or anything like that. So right now there's nothing scheduled with a receiver or running back, and we'll see if anything pops up. But at this point and at this stage, it certainly feels like anything visit-wise, would either have to materialize really quick to happen like, the next couple of days. Tennessee's got Josh Thompson, the Northwestern offensive lineman, coming in here tomorrow, or actually today. He's coming in today and tomorrow. And then, after that, it just kind of gets you're too up against the game. I don't think you want to be, hampering yourself, worrying about a visitor when you've got this game coming up on Saturday night.
Austin, how much do these coaches just hate the way this window and schedule works? Because if I'm Josh Heupel, like, how in the world are you balancing all of this? I know coaches are grinders and they go through periods like this all the time, right? Where they just are all recruiting and all game planning. So these hours aren't new to them, but like, how does this staff manage looking ahead and having to be in the portal now and in the moment? Because guys are signing now while also still finding a way to prepare for Ohio State.
Not enough hours in the day. You're constantly having to do this and that, and it is a juggling act, but it's part of it. I mean, they know kind of what's going to go into it before this time even gets here, and so it's just a matter of trying to balance your day the best you can and handle the visitors where you can, handle the team where you can, but ultimately the most focus is solely on winning this game coming up Saturday night.
Austin, when you look at that Saturday night matchup, you got some veteran guys, man, against a very good defensive line on Ohio State. Like, I know Ohio State said they had a players-led meeting or anything like that, but how much of an emphasis, man, is Cooper and the rest of that group going to have on maintaining and dominating up front? Because I think that's where the X factor's got to be for this Vols team, especially keeping Nico clean so he can see the field, but also just dominating them in the run game with All-American, man, Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, they've got to win up front. I think that's key on both sides of the ball, defensive line, offensive line. But Tennessee's ability to run the football at the horseshoe, I think, will determine whether, they have success on offense. Because if they can run and they force everybody up to try to stop Dylan Sampson in those running lanes, then that's where Dante Thornton and the passing game with Nico and Kitzelman and Brew and everybody really start to have real opportunities. And when you give them opportunities, Tennessee's been successful most of the year.
Austin Price of VolQuest and On 3. Great time to get in on VolQuest and On 3. If you haven't already, what are you doing at this point? Tennessee in the playoff, number 1 ranked men's basketball team. Everything else still to come for the rest of this recruiting season. You will want to get in on that. Austin, appreciate you as always, sir. Enjoy Columbus this weekend. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thanks,
yes, sir. Austin Price was with us this morning. The Wendell Moy nugget. A big one.
Nice.
It's one of the best interior offensive linemen in the portal.
Yeah,
they need it.
They do need it bad in the worst way.
Ramon, I've got some excellent news for you.
I'm not sure, Will.
One of the most popular segments in radio is about to return.
I got a feeling now.
Coming up next. RKW 104.5 The Zone, wrapping up the third hour this morning. Coming up in 9 a.m. In studio, Steve and Godfrey, split zone duo. Going to talk college football with us for the final hour. We're going to give you everything you need for the college football playoff. However, before we get to that, it is the return of America's favorite radio segment. Dare I say, the universe's radio segment. I don't know if other worlds could even comprehend. Heck, I don't even, Europe. The European mind cannot comprehend 40 bowls in 14 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah, Bert.
Scooters Coffee and Frisco Bowl tonight.
Let's go.
West Virginia, Memphis. Who, by all accounts, can we say that Memphis had the only time you would say they had a 10-win season that was disappointing? Because I think a lot of people had them making the college football playoff. A lot of people have them being the at-large bid. So, but still a successful year. The AAC was actually pretty strong this year with Tulane, Army, Navy, and also Memphis. They're taking on the Mountaineers, who were 6-6 this year, fired their coach, hired a new game, possibly the coolest coach name in college football. I would call him Hot Rod. I don't know what anybody else would call him. That's just me. Coach Hot Rod. I don't know how well that would go over. But taking each other on, I don't know if you guys have looked at this. I love the trends in betting. When I look at bowl games, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to place bets. West Virginia, 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 postseason games. So West Virginia, Memphis, what do you guys think about it? You have a feel on this game.
That's where our teammate Babs is
That's
at.
right.
Oh,
John Davenport posted on her Instagram story last night, there will be a very special edition of Detective Dawn tonight.
I love that.
From a Scooters Coffee.
Kickoff at 9 p.m. Or no, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Sorry, this is Eastern. 8 p.m.
Heck yeah.
A little bit easier for us.
Phil, but that's not Memphis. Memphis was supposed to be that team this year, man. They were supposed to be at large, but I'll say this: they've been winning a lot of football. If you ask me to take a bet, Bert, I got Memphis.
You know me. If you know me, you know how much I love my West Virginia Mountaineers. You know how much I love them. I totally love them. Totally love them.
Get out
that's because if you're unfamiliar, if you're uninitiated, it's because they're playing Memphis.
No.
Because I was born in this city.
So, well, the money is against you, Will, because Memphis opened up as 2.5-point underdogs. They are now 4.5-point favorites.
We don't need the points. No, we're good.
They don't need the points. Over here. They don't need the points.
I'm not taking any of those points.
I have an unnatural hatred. I feel like this happens to anybody who likes sports. I have an unnatural hatred for West Virginia because of one man, Will Greer.
Will Greer.
If you're familiar with Will Greer,
we're familiar.
His father was a quarterback. He quarterbacked the East Carolina Pirates.
Did he?
So when Will Greer transferred from Florida, every Pirate was excited. Come home, please. Shane Carden just came off a very successful career where he got to play a preseason with the Bears. Don't you want to do that? No, I'm going to West Virginia. Well, have fun burning couches in Morgantown, buddy. Nobody likes it up there anyway.
Ready to learn country roads, buddy.
Yeah, right. So I hate West Virginia.
So we also hate Will Greer, at least maybe I do. First of all, cheater. Known PED user, Will Greer. So Will Greer had one of the multiple improbable plays to beat Tennessee in my college tenure at Tennessee. Unfortunately, I have to specify which improbable victory I'm referring to of my 4 years at the University of Tennessee that Florida had against Tennessee. But he also then beat Jeremy Pruitt in Jeremy Pruitt's first game at Tennessee as the quarterback of West Virginia in Charlotte, 2018. I believe that was August 31st, 2018.
He remembers the date.
I remember it because I was broadcasting a Tennessee Smokies game that day, doing play-by-play solo because Mick Gillespie, the guy that I worked with, was doing Alabama football in his show that day, and I called a cycle. So it was the only cycle I've called or seen in person. Oh, wow. PJ Higgins, who now plays for the Cubs, had a hit for the cycle that day. A catcher hit for the cycle. Go figure. In this economy. And it was like a It was a big day in my broadcasting career.
Look at Will.
That's why I remember
A little
it.
history out here.
Anyway, so yes, I did find a way to take your Will Greer hatred and make it about me.
Yeah, that's cool with me. That's cool with me.
Hey, look, lean in.
I feel like I got to take Memphis tonight. They looked really good against Tulane, their last game of the season. Tulane's also a good school. I got to lean towards Memphis. I like the Tigers here.
Okay.
Tulane, if I'm not mistaken, too, had a big quarterback commit, too, in the portal. I'm not sure
TJ Finley going on in like 10 of playing college football?
I love it.
The
Keep all
former
these old
Auburn,
geezers.
Western Kentucky, and Texas State quarterback?
That's nuts,
TJ Finley?
man.
Who's the cat at Utah? Cam Rising.
Cam Rising,
the same dudes. They were in high
He's
school in
played for
2016.
It's not 40 bowls in 14 days. It's 40 teams in 14 years for these guys.
I feel like you're in like year 6 and 7 of your like portal and extension of your college career. You need to just go ahead and like settle in, get like a wife.
Get ready to work for an Enterprise rent-a-car,
for
buddy.
real, bro.
With no disrespect to Enterprise, they'll pick you up. That is who I exclusively use. But I'm thinking of the company that hires a lot of athletes. Northwestern Mutual, another one. Great folks over there. They hire a lot of former college athletes. You need to enter the LinkedIn portal at some point and not the transfer portal. If you are going on year 7, if you're still like within 2 or 3 years of me, I'm 27 years old. It's time to get a job, buddy.
Off topic, but I wonder if you got approached. Probably not, because you were a successful player in the NFL, Ramon. But so most bigger fellas don't go into those careers. You know what the side gig for most college offensive linemen is?
Coaching.
They get on.
They get on radio.
They get in pit crews for racing teams.
I've heard of that.
Really? I have a couple buddies that work in North Carolina on pit crews that were former offensive linemen, because they need big fellas who are fast, athletic. You got to carry them tires. Got to hoist
Great
things
teamwork.
up. Right. You got to be able to,
minimizing yourself.
and it's all about timing too, right? You got to get in quick, get out quick. So just a little aside there.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of bouncers, a lot of pit crew guys.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's weird, man.
Okay, let me go aside again. Bouncers. Why is it that every I went to a jewelry store yesterday to get in Cheyenne. Get Cheyenne something for Christmas.
Whoa.
Why is it that every time that you go in somewhere and see security, it looks like someone who would not be able to secure a grocery store? Like, it's always the guys who like, it's someone's uncle, and they just work like, will you come hang out in the lobby and wear a security shirt? He's not going to do anything. He ain't got a taser, a knife, a gun, a bully club.
Or nothing.
He ain't got, what's he got? He going to lay on somebody. He going to fall and trip.
You going to tell us what you got Cheyenne at the jewelry store?
No. Oh, yeah.
If Kayla was here, she would ask you, was it a ring? So I feel like I've got to now take that role and ask it.
Don't worry about it. It ain't nothing like that. It ain't nothing like that.
Nothing for your
I still got money to spend, if that tells you anything.
Fair enough.
Bird is hey, you true to the game.
You also wanted to air a grievance against a certain mall place,
man,
too.
don't get me started.
You got about a minute.
Williams-Sonoma, who the hell do you think you are? When we were kids, that was the place to go. If your parents like to cook and you wanted to get them a cool gadget,
fair enough.
you would go in there and get them. Like, I got my dad a sous vide machine one year. I got my mom when air fryers first came out and it was in a big glass dish. Now you go in there and Stanley Tucci's selling his saucepans and it's all commercial stuff. They wasn't selling no apple cider. They didn't have nothing wassailing, no Christmas music. It was just a corporate sham. Just a bunch of wooden, this would look good in my kitchen. I need a wooden mallet. You ain't tenderizing nothing. Ain't nobody that's buying those wooden mallets from Williams-Sonoma is tenderizing anything. So I'm over Williams-Sonoma. I will not. It's a glorified pottery barn. I'm not going in there no more to get nothing to dress your kitchen up. I need something that works.
We used to be a proper country.
I'm telling you, you can't even go in there and get something to sip on now.
You can't. They did used to have the cider.
They had the cider, right?
I'm telling you, I went in there and everybody was buying wooden spatulas and $400 toasters. I was like, man, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm not here for the economy talk when you walk in there and they ain't got nothing for you to sip on.
That's what I'm saying.
I ain't
you
here
want
for
me to
that
spend
talk.
all that money on a knife, all that money on a
So if you want to talk about the economy with Ramon, just meet him at a Williams-Sonoma.
No, I don't want to hear that.
With cider.
Anymore.
Bring cider.
Air fryers for $650. I
Get
don't
out
want to
of
hear.
here.
I'm with you.
Because it's rose gold.
Wooden bowls on a doggone mixer. Like,
how you even wash that? I got to oil this thing up to even put it out. People look at it.
See, I'm with you on that because I used to love that store. I did. He ain't lying.
Coming up, we will talk with Stephen Godfrey in studio about the college football playoff. That was Robert Walsh at his best right there. Hour 4 coming up.
What's going on, y'all? Bert and Ramon here to tell you about the original hot chicken. That's Princess Hot Chicken. They ain't never going to let you down. Whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, but we talking about the holidays, and don't nobody want to cook for all them people, Mon.
At this point, I don't even think you having a holiday party or you got a separate chat that you don't want to invite me to, because if that's the case and you have Princes, we fighting.
I'm telling you, we can go wassailing. That's cool. We go caroling together.
Because listen to this. You can get a brown sugar spiral ham and add the side of tenders to it for the kids, too, man. They will customize any kind of menu for you. I told you they got the vegan and vegetarian stuff, but listen to these sides, though, real quick, Bert. These fixins, okay? The Get It Girl greens.
Get it, girl.
Scallop potatoes. Woo. All right. Black bean and street corn. They got so much. And yes, they got mac and cheese, beans, everything that you want, man. They've got a quinoa and kale salad for you. To place your order, man, at the Tanger Outlet location, call them at 615-339-0600.
What's going on, you bunch of hooligans? 9:02, good morning. From the 104.5 The Zone Studios, I am Robert Walsh. Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. Vikings took down the Bears 30-12. Caleb Williams struggling to get much going, finishing 18 of 31 for 191 and a touchdown, while the Vikings practically did whatever they wanted. Vikings moved to 12-2 and are now the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs. Second leg of your doubleheader saw the Falcons stop the Raiders on the road 15-9. Kirk Cousins didn't have a great game, but he didn't have to. Bijan Robinson took over in the run game, 22 carries for 125. Falcons win the shinier of two turds trophy and move to 7-7. Some free agent news yesterday. The Chiefs have released former first-round running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He will be subject to waivers to see what team will claim him next. A man who's already been through that process, former Dolphins wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. He has cleared waivers, a free agent, and any team is free to seek his services. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour on a Tuesday morning edition of RKW. Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Robert Walsh. Kayla out on a boat all week. We wish her the best. In my family, we'd call that suffering for the Lord when you get to go to a place like that for a week. Wish her all the best. Know she's having a good time. As we are joined today in studio by split zone duo Washington Post. Again, we list all the places. We'll probably list a different one every time we come back from break with them. Stephen Godfrey in studio with us talking college football here for the fourth hour. Godfrey, what's up, man? How are you?
A camera of myself just appeared. And no one told me that would happen. I often worry my segments are a little too off topic, and then I listen to the show on the way in. When has Williams-Sonoma not been excessively dumb and bougie? Like, it's always been a place to buy a $25 spatula.
Yeah.
That is I don't know what to give my mother as an adult.
Right. Yeah.
And you just put something in a bag.
Yeah.
It's the attraction of going in there, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I will say,
It
like,
makes you feel fancy.
Here, like, smelling the spice in the air when you walk in, having a sample or two out of this $450 air fryer or just like little toaster oven.
Yeah.
Like, there is a need for that, though, too. Make me feel special about buying this $1,000 knife.
Or you walk around, you feel good. You drive the other part of town, you go to TJ Maxx, you get the same thing.
There you go.
Because that's what we did.
With
Bert,
one less zero.
Does that do it for your
price
mama,
tag.
Bert? Does that, like, going to TJ Maxx or Home Goods, does that do
Put it in the Sonoma bag.
Yeah, that's cool for me. But the problem is I enjoyed the process of shopping at Williams-Sonoma. Or it's not even and.
Williams-Sonoma.
I used to think it was two people.
I think you got to throw the
I
and in there.
understand it's
Throw the
both
and in there
now.
anyway.
But it used to be an experience.
It's like the Kroger's.
I'm
You
looking
would
for
go in
William
there-
and Sonoma.
I would like to talk to Sonoma because William would never pull this kind of crap.
I can't even find Sonoma.
William's the one making the cider in the back.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they must have got rid of him then. We're just going to call it
Just
Sonoma.
I'm with it.
Real fast, too. Bouncer check. I had to do it for 2 years in college. Am I passing the
really?
muster?
You're a big boy.
Yeah.
I ain't going to figure
Love
out
hearing
how
that
big
at
a boy
9
you are.
a.m. Appreciate that. Love that. Don't you love when you're a certain size in this world that everyone's like, oh, what's up, big boy?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
man,
right.
you know what? That can go 8 different ways.
Well,
right
dude,
now.
See, you're more of a how's the weather up there, big boy, than like a how's the
Tall and
food in
awkward.
there,
Yeah,
young
yeah,
man.
tall,
Big boy.
Look at how pleasant he's describing
My favorite-
the tall awkwardness.
Tall, dark. My favorite is when we do a live show somewhere and people just assume that I don't know, like they just assume I'm like 5'8" for some reason.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're kind of tall.
Most
Like, yeah,
people,
okay, yeah.
like, in the sports world and just entertainment in general are small people.
Oh,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Like, Tom Cruise is
yeah.
petite. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about all
Half
the most
the NFL
powerful
reporters.
people.
All those guys wear lifts.
Are little. They are.
The NFL reporters who look down on college football, that's the only other thing they ever look down on because they're usually looking up at everyone else.
I do enjoy it when Maria Taylor emasculates.
Oh my gosh.
Because she does. I mean, she's not trying to. She got a foot and a half on Kirby.
Easily.
He would never score in the post.
We got to be careful. Mike Florio will write about Ramon again.
Yes, there's always that.
Mike needs to be mad at something. Let's talk about Mike. Let's talk about Mike.
See, there we go. Any path that we can go. Well, look, I'm glad you came in.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Like you said, we didn't tell you it was going to be on camera, but you're presentable. We appreciate that.
I showered. Check. That's
Perfect.
it. That's all we
one
got.
step ahead of me.
As I said, it's morning radio. I knew everybody in here. Hoodie.
For sure.
Yeah.
Easily.
Especially when you've been doing it for a while.
Oh, my gosh.
Because you got to roll out and you're just like, I don't care.
My first day on the job, hear me out. I got a new coffee cup.
There you go.
I had my backpack ready with papers and pens and pencils in it, okay? I put on a whole outfit, okay?
Yeah.
I had to look. It's like, well, I got to look good for radio.
Yeah.
Come on, it's radio. Ain't nobody going to see you, fool.
And then now they do.
And now look at what now they
104.5 The Zone TV.
Now it's 8 a.m. It's 8 a.m. lecture energy.
That's right.
You got to roll to the class,
talking about,
sign
man.
in, fall asleep,
Speaking
leave.
of lectures, real quick, watch me be a little radio pro right here.
Nice. That transition.
I show out every once in a
You
while.
got to pay it off, though. What's on the other side of the sentence?
The lecture of Ohio State's. What are they having? Ohio State. What are they having this week? Because Ryan Day, man, is interesting. If you listen to the masses, the crowd don't like what's going on. You listen to him, say we're getting tight. They have a player-led meeting, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Those always go well.
Yeah, I know. How do you view
Also,
him?
how would he know?
Well, of course, right? Snitch. With that being said, though, how do you view that lecturing?
I love the head. I was pulling up just to check for factual stuff. First headline: Ohio State facing disaster or finest hour. Is that what we've reduced it to?
Yeah,
it's a great way to put it.
Pretty much like accepting defeat already. It seems like.
I would say, and I'm not breaking news here, that I do think a loss this weekend puts things in play. That's not a binary. It's not 100%, but I do think that there's an expectation now post Michigan that they have to come out command on offense specifically. Was the funny thing is, and it is a rivalry game. Everybody's brain sort of turns to jello, but the defense was not the problem against Michigan, right? All things considered, I mean, they basically just kept handing them the ball back and couldn't get anything done. Yeah, they need a commanding run-based offense. You need that sort of Chip Kelly variation that we didn't see, right? One of the things that strikes me, and I always couch everything I say is I'm an amateur. I didn't play the game. I didn't coach the game. I just talked to a lot of people who did. Was there wasn't a lot of variation in that run game, and I think people are rightly upset. And what I'm saying by that is that when you have a Chip Kelly run game specifically, right? It's a lot of wide zone. It's a lot of we're going to establish a couple base zone plays, and then throughout the season or throughout a game, depending on personnel, we're going to start creating variations off that. We're going to throw off that. It was almost like they never left first gear the entire game, and they thought they could brute force their way, which is really kind of the Michigan signature. They handed Michigan the style of game they wanted to play. Now, how does that translate against Tennessee? I have said all season, I think nationally, Nico got the love in the preseason cycle. And so when you get outside of Nashville or Tennessee, there was this expectation that it was just UCF, right? It was that, but and again, that's for as smart as sports writers want to claim to be. It's usually they're going to operate on the national level with us there. I know what Tennessee is. It's a lot of deep ball. You know what it was? I think it was the Alabama upset from a couple years back. People still have that crystallized.
100%,
this is a power run team that is successful when they do exactly that. And then I do think the pub has caught up with the defensive front as the season has gone on. That's roughly what Ohio State has to be too. So this is going to be big and smashy, and it's really an offensive line game. I think it's really a pace of play game. I mean, you can say something cliche like, "Oh, we need to prevent turnovers," that kind of thing. It's obvious. I don't entirely trust either quarterback in third and unmanageable. But Tennessee's excelled when they've just not necessarily made him make those decisions, and they just let him work in mentally manageable situations. Talking about Nico here. Now, the Will Howard thing's different to me because it was like we all talked ourselves into Will Howard, and we had the season to do that. The Oregon game, he was serviceable, right?
Yeah.
So you just assumed, well, there's so much talent around him. They brought him in to be the game manager. that McCord, really couldn't be in key situations. And well, he's still Will Howard. That was the Michigan. We got all the way to Michigan to go. There's a limit on a guy who was going to lose the starting job at Kansas State in spring practice, which is why he left.
Nuts.
So Avery Johnson's an electric factory.
He's great. He's a highly volatile entity. I will say that.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
electric for the neutral observer.
He's not like Thomas Castellanos, but
fair
like he is one of those guys where it's like 3 or 4 things are going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, and you're going to be on the emotional extreme no matter what. So.
More coming up with Stephen Godfrey when we come back. I'm curious that there is this big talking point that Ohio State 2 years ago was able to lose to Michigan, continue to play for a national championship, and got a kick as the ball dropped away from beating Georgia. And there's this idea out there that they can replicate that, but they've got same head coach, similar coaching staff. They got a lot of different things, though, at play than they did 2 years ago. We'll talk about that with Godfrey. Talk about the rest of the games as well as we continue talking college football here in Hour 4 at RKW. RKW 104.5 The Zone rolls on here in hour number 4. Stephen Godfrey talking college football with us here in studio as we continue to preview the college football playoffs. So, Godfrey, there's this idea out there that since Ohio State 2 years ago should have beaten Georgia a couple of weeks after losing to Michigan, they can do that again. Because now, with the new system that we thought would actually keep blue bloods out and give more seats at the table, they actually have a larger seat at the table in order to win a national championship, despite losing 2 weeks ago.
Who thought blue bloods were going to be kept out?
Exactly.
Yo, come on.
Exactly. What do you make of that idea? Is the psyche of that staff, that team, that program right now in the position to where they can do that again and get off the mat and play with their hair on fire a little bit?
I do think there's a separation at the very top of the sport where there's I wouldn't say a professionalism totally, because regardless of what you think college football is becoming, it is still not the pro game. I do think they can clear the mechanism a little bit better. This is one thing that I've tried to dissuade people where they talk about home field advantage all the time. That works when you've got a G5 team coming in. You got a smaller, I'm not going to pick on anybody, but an ACC team coming into a large environment, something like that. I get that.
Yeah.
But when LSU goes to Bama, when Tennessee goes to Georgia, y'all, we've all seen this before. We got it at home. Exactly. We got it at home, all that.
Got sound systems that practice, that emulate noise, everything.
Yeah. And so to that end, talking about the psychology of it, definitely. The Ohio State, I've called them, is essentially the most professional franchise, if there is such a thing in the game. You know, maybe 20, 30 years ago, you could have said that about Notre Dame.
I think it's only two that is in that conversation, me personally.
Okay.
And that's Ohio State and that's Georgia. The only two to me that hadn't had like a true, to your point about perfect organization, franchise, it's been Ohio State, Georgia. Georgia just now getting the championships, but Ohio State had maybe a half a year of a dip. That was from Tressel to who after that. Like, that was it.
The Tattoo-Gate was a one-season problem.
Right.
Think about that.
I think they were 5-7 or 6-6.
I think 6-6.
And then the next year, people forget Urban comes in immediately. Their suspension year, their probation year where they can't win anything, they went undefeated.
I know.
Like, Tattoo-Gate made them better.
Right.
Because then Urban came in and actually recruited the South.
Before real NIL, too.
Yeah, they were...
Finger quote, I am on camera. Here we go. That was the other kind of recruiting.
Because it's a real prior having that GT3 was insane, okay?
Let's talk 6 and 7 in 2011. A Gator Bowl loss that year.
And they were devastated.
That was it. Right.
They were devastated. But that's the consistency. They're also a national brand. I will say this, not to like go too far into the history and the sociology of it. Ohio State was one of the first logos where assistant walks into a high school in any part of South Florida, Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles. Yeah. There is no barrier to entry. For whatever reason throughout the years, if you think about that, you know, it seems weird to say that now because you got California, you got LA quarterbacks playing at Bama or what, you know, this is a nationalized sport. But Ohio State was close to the first to utilize a effective five-star national recruiting program. Like what I'm saying is that Georgia could would win a 5-star in their backyard. Well, once Kirby got there in Atlanta, right? Or and then Saban starts going into Tampa. Saban starts going into Atlanta, and we spread and we spread and we spread, and of course now it's no big deal. But Ohio State, you go back and look at that 14 team, the first year of the playoff, which I contend is still maybe one of the most important college football games ever played. When 85 yards to the heart of the South or whatever it's on a T-shirt right there. Yeah. Because it brought about a rebalancing and the idea that this was still a national sport. And then the SEC won like 7 more titles. Whatever.
The Cardell Jones year.
Cardell Jones going to the Children's Hospital, smoking that kid in Madden. Still one of the greatest stories in American journalism. All I seek is honesty. And when he went in there and whooped that kid at the hospital, throwing fades with 60 seconds left.
Yeah, that's right.
God bless that. I love Cardell.
He should have made a different Make-A-Wish is what
He did not go there to play school.
He made a wish.
But he did go there to play the college football video game.
Came to true.
In a hospital.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Think about how much grief he took that. I didn't come here to play school, buddy.
Guy's got a national championship ring. It is interesting, Godfrey, because I do feel like you're 100% right on Nico that the narrative on him has almost been like a couple weeks behind now multiple times this year. What I mean by that, like you said, people caught up on Nico of like, oh my gosh, this guy, it could be a Heisman finalist. Like he could go to New York. Kind of after Tennessee fans were ready and had the high expectations, because we never have high expectations as Tennessee fans going into a season.
And you got to start being a happier cult.
Now I think he is not getting enough credit for the improvements he's made since that Alabama game. Because since he had the VolQuest guys that we work with have had a stat that since he had that long run against Alabama that kind of woke the offense up in that game, 68% passing, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he's not made major mistakes.
Is it still Brent Hubbs at VolQuest?
Yeah. Brent Hubbs, Austin Price.
You know what,
with
man?
Us Tuesdays and Fridays.
You've been working at VolQuest for 20 years. Think about how good life is right now.
He's the GOAT.
Just think about all the excrement you have shoveled.
No, for real.
Y'all got to be happier. By the way, when I was coming in and listening to that segment, you're like, well, I hate this guy because of Bud, you're going to make the list you'll hate everybody. All right?
Zach Edey's the top of the list.
Dude, I did this when I was a kid when Atlanta would make the Braves would make the playoffs, and I'd be like, oh, we lost to them, so I hate them forever.
I have the list
but that's half the majors, okay, that we've lost to in the playoffs. Y'all need one of those ceremonies. I'm dead serious.
I'm there.
Go out in the parking lot, take whatever grief you got from the Phil Lane year till right now, say a prayer, give a speech, give your physical embodiment of whatever your grief is as a Vol, and burn it.
Burn it.
Ramon is right with you on that.
Y'all have got to move on.
Because he doesn't get it.
Listen, me and my brother Ron Slay have been on this. You got to drag friends to it too. Like, come on, no, we can have nice things, and that to me is why. To me, I think the biggest storyline behind this Ohio State brand franchise that you mentioned and the Vols, I do think nationally that's the conversation too. Is why is Tennessee in it? Like, no, look. What I be telling folks is this. Now you got me really going. What I be telling folks is this. When it's good, it's good. And you got to be in that moment when it's there, too. Like, you didn't make it here by luck, right? Like, okay, Alabama game, you came back and won that. Florida, you won that. Like, Georgia, I mean, hey, they got you. But you played them well. Like, those are
But the ugly ones, too.
You weren't playing off the field.
I go back to Oklahoma.
Right.
Like, it was ugly.
It was ugly.
You were not ready to go on the road yet. Like, there were a lot of things that weren't working. That was September.
It was early. I got you.
The usual Florida weekend. Yeah, it was like the 20th.
So week 3-ish, right?
Yep.
Things weren't working, right? There is no preseason in college football, so it's going to be wildly inconsistent through the month of September. That's why week 1 is always an aberration. We always have one helmet game, and it ends up being completely irrelevant by the time Halloween comes by.
Facts.
So to win the ugly ones or to just not lose the same way is all you can really ask for, especially in the 12-team format, because you now get a little grace. So, but everywhere I go, y'all are just like, we're gonna lose by 45.
I feel
you do it all the time.
I feel confident about this game, and that is a big deal for me. I did not feel close to this level of confidence going into the Georgia game because I think Tennessee can follow a similar game script as Michigan and have the same success Michigan has had against this Ohio State team.
Yeah, I mean, more or less.
Yeah.
I would say I'm not trying to do like a position-by-position comp to Michigan, but yeah, I tell you what, you have the ability to like play a cover song, right? To like emulate
it's a great way to put
some of what Michigan does, I think, correctly.
Yeah.
But this is also, you talk about stress or existential crisis or all, I mean, honestly, this is all fan stuff too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
100%.
Because when you play, you know that you have the agency. You can control what's going on. Just now, you may lose, right? But it's within your capability. Fans for the last 20 years invest so much emotionally. Like, I get where you're coming from, but also at a certain point, you have to cauterize that and move on. And so they've been consistent enough, I think, for you to feel like they won't pull the rug out. And by the way, if they lose this weekend, it's still a successful season that fits on an escalating, on an ascension.
Yep.
Right? because the apparatus now aren't they number one in basketball?
Yeah.
Y'all.
It's right.
I've lived in this state since 2006. Y'all have never been this competent.
No, ever.
Not even close. Y'all won a national championship in baseball.
Right.
Y'all don't even know what baseball was when I moved here.
Hey, shout out to my guy Julio Bourbon. I was there with him at UT.
That was when my brother was the
JPR
public address
CBA.
announcer of
100%.
Tennessee baseball.
But when everybody was building those like cathedral stadiums in the SEC West, and y'all were just like, "No, we're good."
Yeah,
no doubt.
But now you are.
Yeah,
because Danny's a gangster.
You like Danny?
Fear Danny.
You fear Danny?
Danny is. We already did the bit on the Whites, but you can't help but make it funny.
Danny White.
The Whites are an AD family, and they are. You can ask any major agent in this sport. They are a headache to deal with, and if he's your AD, that is a compliment. Yeah, they're not. I
didn't know that.
Yeah,
we knew he was a savage the way he goes about.
That same thing, dude.
He's a savage.
Same thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And
we all criticized the hypo hire. I did too. I was like, "Oh God, you're coming in, and it's your guy, and the emphasis is on control versus opening it up to the field." Which at the time, by the way, meant I just want to watch you. I want to look you in the eyes and say this. Potentially James Franklin. Whew. All right. It was a weird crop when he was doing the hiring, and everyone thought, this is a bridge coach. Everyone thought he would be a bridge coach because everyone thought that he's going to run that same pass skeleton G5 nonsense, which is why I keep trying to go back and I'm like, y'all, they've really changed. They've really adapted to this. So yeah, it is absolute. Look, it's also a lot of the. I don't want to say this on radio because somebody will find where I live, but there are a lot of moneyed feuding families that messed up Knoxville for 20 years. This is as delicate as I can put this.
We just talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
On how Danny White moved those people out to somewhat get control of the university in a sense. And you joked about it like, oh, you didn't shake my hand at the country club. Like, me as a player, like, I can't understand the ego of people that need that level of importance. And I know it's real, but like, because they donate a lot of money, right? But like the idea of donating that money is to watch the product on the field, not to appease you all the time.
When I first wrote the Bagman story, it was 10 years ago. It's been picked up a couple times for an option for television. They go out, you take the meetings, and I would go to these high level meetings. One was for a film, and this producer's out there in LA, and he says, "I just don't understand the plot." I said, "Well, what do you not understand about paying kids to play football for your school?" And he goes, "I just don't understand why anyone would take their own money and pay for a football player to play at the college they went to." And I was like, "Okay, where are you from?" And he said, "Well, I grew up in Westchester, and after I finished in the Ivies, I do enjoy a spot of tennis." And I go, "Let me tell you something." And I'm cribbing. Spot of tennis. I'm serious because like there is such a thing as coastal bias, right? And it's actually not geographic. It's wealth based. Those making those kind of decisions. We can never explain to some major parts of this country the amount of emotion, the amount of irrationality that these people invest. Tennessee's no different than any other Southeastern Conference school, by the way, right? Yeah. It's all the same. We can do Auburn jokes if we want. I mean, we can do Georgia, Ole Miss, whatever. But it's something that does not translate. And that's been the core problem for Tennessee for a long, long time.
Right.
Wow. But now we're okay.
It's better.
I had to go back and admit, so in case you go this weekend, it's going to
Well, I do. I've had the Vivid Seats link up all morning. About once an hour is when I check the tickets just to see if it'll get to a number. It just dropped again.
Okay,
to
what are we at?
$124.
Why go?
Yeah,
I need to.
It's only 6 hours.
Yeah,
you lose an hour, but it's like 6 hour drive. Yeah,
it's a Saturday morning drive. You're there Saturday afternoon. Listen to a full game on the way up. All right, don't tip me with a good time.
Come on now, man. Get you a hoodie. You got to put a jersey over it. That's right. That's their uniform out there.
That's right, 100%. All right, well, there are a lot of other playoff games this weekend as well, starting Friday night. I'm fascinated by Indiana and Notre Dame because I feel like nobody has made Riley Leonard have to be really great since early in the season, since, check notes, Northern Illinois did it, which is kind of wild. Can Indiana do it? Can they really travel against? We've really only seen them play one I mean, we've seen them play a couple good rosters. Like Michigan still has some great defensive pieces, clearly, but we've seen them play one very good football team in Ohio State. And, what did we take away from that tells us they can do this in South Bend?
We didn't, and it's fair to say that. I'm someone who's always trying to stump for the whole of the sport and not do the Southeastern homer bit. But yeah, it's also completely within the realm of sanity to say, hey, this is an 11-1 team with deficiencies and questions. They also, and it's not like someone dreamed this up in Chicago, benefited from this particular schedule. We weren't talking about Indiana a couple months ago.
Right.
Indiana wasn't talking about Indiana a couple months ago. And so now it's easier and smarter always to play the scheduled game now, but we do it in July because we got to fill time, right? So you look at the adjusted sort of rankings, whatever metric you want to go at, they haven't been expressly tested. I mean, they made it all the way to the beginning of November, to your point, right? And then they started to taper off. I don't think they're going to win. I think the goal here is to not have a repeat of the Ohio State game. I don't think defensively that they can cause enough problems for. Well, here's the other thing too. It's probably easier to understand this looking at Notre Dame, right? Because that man did not waste a loss. That man took that loss, the second terrible loss, right? Because the first one was Marshall a couple years ago, and he did every single thing right after that, in terms of adjustment. All the way, that was September. They lost that game in September 7th.
It's a lifetime ago.
It is. And the thing that's actually impressive to me is they came back with the benefit of playing Purdue, Miami of Ohio. A good Louisville team, right? For sure. A good Louisville. I think Louisville beat them the previous season last year. I think they did, because then Louisville kind of failed to build momentum off that.
Right.
They've done everything correct, and also they have reduced themselves, and I think this is a sign of a great college football team, to what they do effectively with no apologies. Notre Dame this is the most physical, this is the most, line sound, effective, trench Notre Dame team. And the reason why that is interesting to me is that what has happened when Notre Dame has reached the postseason, whatever format you want to talk about, BCS Championship 2012, the semi against Alabama 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
By the way, we can have this conversation about Oregon too.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's fascinating about both of these teams is that now they've said, all right, there's a larger question at play, which is, can you ever compete with that top 10 brand? Not just SEC, but the Ohio States, Michigans of the world, right? Again, because there are only so many 5-star guards, tackles, or rush-ins. Right? Again, I'm not pandering, but it does always go back to line play, in my opinion. All right, it really does.
I'm just glad people are noticing that for a while, because especially to your point, the interior side of things.
Yes,
I think when defenses started realizing, if I go get me an Aaron Donald type or something similar, not just him, but a trench monster up the middle, it changed everybody's outlook. Because why is he dominating so much? Well, because your bigs suck.
Yeah,
they do, or you don't have the right parts around them.
Yeah. Or, so go back to 2014 again for a second, that Ohio State team that we're talking about. Oregon was the story.
Yeah.
Oregon was the 100%. Change agent of college football at the time. That's the Mariota Heisman year. That's where
Titans legend.
Titans legend. Falcons too, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all right.
Venn diagram.
Boy, everybody loves it when Marcus comes to town. I can't say that, dude. He's like the nicest.
Oh, he really is.
That's all I've ever
heard. 100% nicest dude ever.
I can't talk about it like that. I'm sorry. Man, that just made me sad.
You apologize without even having them in the room.
But because I apologize. Anybody who has had to play for Atlanta last 5 years, I feel like I owe them. I feel like I should send them a check, especially free agent. What were you thinking? It might get better. When Oregon lined up against Ohio State, I was at that game, that national championship, and it was within 2-3 drives that there was no push and there was no penetration. It was that simple, because now back then, Oregon, it was still the blur, right? It was still, and that is sort of the deficiency of living and dying on wide zone.
Yeah.
Or just, we're going to kick it to the outside. We want to work in space. Sometimes, more often than not, you have to create third and successful with some seriously ugly interior play on second down when you're pushing the ball. And Oregon just simply could not do it. That's been the knock against Notre Dame as well. This Notre Dame team and this Oregon team are fit to fight Georgia, Ohio State, whatever established brand that you have in your brain, whatever you consider to be a playoff favorite in that way. And that's what's exciting is the level of parity.
Got a couple more games to discuss. If you want to stick around and we got what? SMU, Penn State, Texas, Clemson is still to get to. Let's do it.
All right.
That's next on RKW.
Let's do it.
RKW wrapping up the show on a Tuesday morning. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Stephen Godfrey in studio with us today, talking college football. Texas and Clemson. Godfrey, hell is frozen over. Dabo Sweeney got a transfer portal commitment yesterday. It's not going to help him against Texas, but I feel so confident in Texas just pushing around Clemson. Tell me why I should or shouldn't feel confident.
You're good.
Okay,
All right,
cool.
we'll see y'all next month.
Sounds good.
No, it's fine.
Does Arch Manning get in this game at all? Like I know the whole, two quarterbacks, you don't have one, like that whole thing. But
No,
why didn't they use Arch more in the SEC championship game?
I don't have a great answer in terms of a theory. I do think there's I like Quinn. I do think you run the risk pretty fast of if Arch is in for series and not a play package, which I think at this point they probably have some package, kind of like with Tebow. It was I can't remember what it's called, Rhino or something like that.
Don't take me down there.
I was going to say,
sorry.
you played in that game.
I couldn't understand how defenses couldn't stop the jump pass. Still,
it's funny because for some reason the Boise, Oklahoma game, the Fiesta was on the TV yesterday, and there's a jump pass that puts them in the end zone of time. I was trying to think, when does the jump pass show up?
this time of the year.
No. I'm saying
what year?
When did it show up?
To get introduced?
Tebow's freshman year is what I remember for the first time.
I feel like that's everybody's first memory.
Like 7 and 8.
It was against Tennessee, wasn't it? His first big one.
I just never. You're right. It happened.
He was in Knoxville.
But that Boise game is 06. That's what I'm saying. Like that pop pass.
That's true.
Is it about RPO though?
It is about RPO. It was, and Tebow had the threat of running the ball at the time.
Right. Some of my most favorite profanity-filled monologues are from defensive coordinators at the height of the RPO. When you get them off the record and they're just like, it's cheating. It's absolutely just. I can't go any further into it, but apoplectic.
The offense added the 11th player to the equation. Is what happened.
Well, and to defend defensive coordinators for a second, y'all were also about 11 yards down the field. So, especially in those Big 12 games.
You told not my problem.
Y'all were in the concourse getting a soda. Y'all were so downfield, and then we're passing. We're passing.
Make the referees.
Unfortunately, you were switching from left tackle to right tackle mid-drive your senior year under the guy that just retired at Wake Forest.
Clausen.
Arch, I like Dave. Shout out to Dave. By the way, no one when to hang it up.
Headshake.
No one when to hang it up. Yeah, I know. It's Tennessee Dave and Wake Forest Dave are two different flavors.
You should have picked a different time to change the offense.
Man, see, this is what I'm talking about. Let's stay positive.
That was good.
I'm like a family therapist.
I'll raise my hand on that one. That was my fault. I'll take the blame on that.
Arch, look, all joking aside, Arch's passing ability far exceeds what we're sitting here goofing on, which is this idea of you bring in the change of pace guy as the more physical runner, and then he might be able to. No, he's got an absolute arm. I do think they are trying to manage through this season with the incumbent being the incumbent. Mm-hmm. Obviously, injury is going to press him in. I don't think now the time that we saw him in when Quinn was out, I don't want to say I was shocked because it's not like I know as a quarterback's coach, he did not have full command. Right. There are ways to put. I would say this. Clemson is enough of a veteran staff to where if Arch was in there because something does happen to Quinn because he does have a consistent injury history, they can disguise stuff, especially in the back end. Absolutely, I think that's part of the reason we haven't seen more of him. But then you just boil football down to its essential, and you talk about best athlete on the best player on the field, most important position, and the extension on that touchdown with first, second quarter in the SEC championship game. I'm just like, God, this kid is so freakishly physical and so freakishly talented. More so than the uncles.
Right.
Because I'm the same age as Eli. I covered Eli when I was in college, and I'm not trying to knock Eli.
If Eli was in this room, I think he would agree with you.
No, we would see I worked in the bars in college, and Eli'd come in. He doesn't read as a football player.
Right.
No. He may be like one of the guys on the baseball team, and his brother's taller, a little bit bigger, I think, but Peyton, that I'm just telling you, that kid is a different kind of athlete. That's always why he shouts his mom's side of the family.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Which I love.
Cooper.
Low-key troll. I love that.
I love how they say Cooper in that family as well. That's how you know somebody is from the South.
Well, no, they
it's not Cooper Manning, it's Cooper Manning.
They have the original, they still do it too. They have the original New Orleans accent in that family.
100%.
Now, Archie doesn't because he grew up in farm country in Mississippi, but the boys have that foghorn, leghorn, I do declare. Wow. I do declare. Peyton still has it.
He does. 100%.
Yeah. It's always, your Southern accent is just always one beer, two beer, 4
100%.
beers, indecipherable, But yeah, they have that New Orleans accent.
We got 1 minute. We got 1 minute left. SMU, Penn State. Penn State has a water slide to the Orange Bowl in the semifinal. Boise State, good team. I won't knock them, but compared to the path that the team that won the Big Ten championship has, I think Oregon would rather have Penn State's path.
There's going to be some serious offseason discussion about that.
100%.
There has to be.
Is this the same old can't win the big one Penn State team when push comes to shove?
Until otherwise notified, I do not buy in. I don't buy into this easy path narrative until the thing happens.
Yep.
And I don't know about y'all, but I have tuned in to Penn State at key moments this year. And Kodalecki's offense was awesome at Kansas and fit the need. And yet we have this sort of incongruity. And this happened under every OC since Joe Moorhead.
Right.
So, I feel like I don't want to come out and say the thing because then they probably will turn around and finally, hit 30+. And I do think going back, SMU has been ahead of schedule on the readiness of transitioning up.
Right.
They've also had the luxury of recruiting that way for more time than people realize because they knew they were going.
Yo.
And they're in Dallas, and so they were able to sort of skip some of the growing pains. So they look like an ACC team in a lot of regards. But this is a Penn State win on paper. It should be. Does anyone trust that program?
Not at all.
Nope.
Stephen Godfrey, Split Zone Duo, Washington Post. Good to see you in person, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
By the way, I got
back.
Clemson over Texas too.
Okay. I'm here for it.
I got
turnover based.
Tennessee just got a prediction for Wendell Moe also.
Yeah, the guy Austin Price said it an hour ago on this show. Tennessee was trending in a good position, and now there's one of the best interior linemen in the portal.
I'll take it.
You'll take it.
Godfrey, good to see you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate this, Godfrey.
Yeah, man.
This is cool.
I'll come back. Buck Rising show up next. Ramon Foster with the final word.
Y'all got to remember at all times, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot. If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, or gaining weight or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Don't wait. Find out, all right? At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. With a simple test, too, and with their on-site lab, you'll get the results back right there on the spot. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office either. The physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients, and super important right here, the personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments, all right? And also, for established patients, they offer a convenient physician-monitored at-home treatment plan that ships directly to your home each month without the need to come in for the weekly visits. And at Low T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.